We had Indianapolis Colts football last night, which means we're just talking Indianapolis Colts football all day today. Anthony Richardson he looked pretty good. Riley Leonard, not so much. Will Mallory, stock way up. Colts got to carry 4 tight ends this year. So much stuff for us to get into today. 317-228-1430. That is the number. If you have thoughts and want to call in on the Indianapolis Colts tie last night in their first preseason game against the Patriots, you can text that number as well. 317-228-1430 if you have thoughts. Thank you for tuning into the show, no matter how you're tuning in. YouTube, Indy Sports Ticket. If you want to head over there and subscribe, you can watch the show on X__ Jonathan Smith to follow me there and watch the show there. You can also listen on the Indy Sports Ticket app or 1430 a.m. And we have to start with Anthony Richardson, who was really impressive last night. The fumble sucked. You could see it coming from a mile away. Once you pass the line of scrimmage as a quarterback, you need to tuck the football. He was 5 yards downfield, still holding the ball like he had an option to throw it. And that is a mistake that you simply can't make in year 4. I know people are calling him to slide and all these things. I don't care about that. That dude took hits and he didn't get hurt. I'm sure there was like a little bit of like talking, before the game, like, hey, Anthony, man, this is probably his agent. Hey, man, like if you want to get traded, you got to show that you're not fragile. And he had that one play where he, scrambled to his right and kind of got rolled up on. And when it happened, I was like, oh, gosh, here we go. He's done already. But no, he popped up, ran back to the huddle, and kept playing well. So fix the fumble. That's a mistake that you can't make in year 4. And would it be nice if he slid? Yes, but at the same time, I'm not going to get mad at a 6'4", 220-pound guy lowering his shoulder while he's carrying the football. Right? Now, that first throw made me want to bury my head in the sand. They run that little, play-action boot, and Will Mallory, who was great last night, wide open. Like, I could have made that throw. And Anthony just short arms it. And it seemed like we were going to get the same version of Anthony Richardson that we saw last time. It's just like, oh, man, really? Is he just going to be this guy who still can't make the easy play? Where's the 60-yard bomb to rope me back in, right? Like, that's got to be coming up at some point. And to his credit, he bounced back. He didn't miss another throw the rest of the time he was on the field. You're probably saying, what about the interception? Completely on Coleman Owen. He has to make that play. Okay, here is Anthony Richardson after the game last night talking about his performance.
Feels good, honestly. These past few months, just of my life, have been, a little weird, especially coming back from the eye injury and then not playing football in a long time. So getting back into my groove, it was a little rocky start for me in the beginning, but the guys on the sideline were just telling me just take the next play and just go next play after that, and we found a way to move the ball and eventually put some points up.
Do you feel like being able to settle in?
Anthony Richardson right there talking about his performance last night. I know he threw an interception, but again, Coleman Owen, he has to catch that football. Who also had a nice day, by the way. I thought he did more good than he did bad. I thought he was really good as a punt returner, which is something that we know that the Colts are looking for right now in training camp. They're looking for a guy who can impact the game in that way. He's just got to catch the football. I mean, that's not a hard catch to make. That is a catch that an NFL wide receiver should make every single time. Okay? But he didn't. Ball goes through his hands. Patriots defender makes an easy play. It wasn't a perfect throw by any stretch of the imagination, but that ball should have been caught, and I do think that most NFL caliber wide receivers make that play. After that drive, though, Anthony Richardson was nothing short of perfect. The ball he threw over the middle to DJ Montgomery was as good of a throw as you're going to see. I mean, Montgomery's just absolutely draped in coverage. And Anthony Richardson's like, it's fine. Let me just throw it through that tin can of a window really quickly. Zipped it. He threw a nice little comeback route to Westbrook Akina. He could that ball, just so much zip on it. It's just impressive watching him throw the football. So he makes those two throws, and it's like, all right, like he's got some rhythm here. He looks good, but up until that final drive, it never really felt like the Colts asked him to do a lot. Like he scrambled a little bit, but in terms of throwing the football, he hadn't really given us very much. And then that final drive, Colts get the football, all 3 timeouts, ball at their own 8-yard line, 3 timeouts, 28 seconds left in the half. And in 5 plays, Anthony Richardson puts them in field goal range. He was 4 of 5 passing on those plays. That is the mark of a good quarterback. There are a lot of quarterbacks in the NFL who can complete passes when the defense knows you have the option to run or pass. The great quarterbacks, and I'm not saying that Anthony Richardson is as good as these guys. Don't misconstrue what I'm saying here. But Patrick Mahomes is Patrick Mahomes because on 3rd and 8, when all 80,000 people at Arrowhead know that they're throwing the football, he still finds a way to complete a pass. The reason why Josh Allen is Josh Allen is for the exact same reason. On 3rd and 11, with 2.5 minutes to go and they're down by 4, everybody knows like this ball is going to be thrown by Josh Allen, and he finds a way to complete the pass. Okay? The quarterbacks in the NFL who can complete passes, when the defense knows that they're throwing it, those are the special guys. That is what speaks the most volume to me as someone evaluating a quarterback. Like 3rd and 2 on the opponent's 35-yard line, you're already in field goal range. It's like you can run or you can pass. If you pick up that first down, like great. Glad for you. But that is a significantly easier play to make than, 2-minute drill. Everybody knows that you're throwing the football. Okay? So I enjoyed watching that drive from Anthony Richardson. He made a couple really nice throws, hit Will Mallory on the sideline a few times. And it wasn't like it was a lot of dink and dunk stuff either. Like we saw him pushing the ball past the sticks. And that's another thing that matters to me. Like if you're just, dinking and dunking and it's a lot of like, oh, there's the running back in the flat and he's picking up 6 yards after the catch. Cool. Great. A lot of guys in the NFL can do that. But to be able to sit in the pocket, step up, and drive the ball down the field when the defense knows you're throwing it, that is what matters. That is what starting NFL quarterbacks can do or should be able to do. Now, it's one game against the Patriots' backups. Some settle down juice likely needs to be passed around a little bit to Indianapolis Colts fans. I'll be honest, I might be one of them. Because again, I thought he played really well last night. I thought everything that you wanted to see from Anthony Richardson, we saw last night. Okay? He was accurate. He was in control of the offense. But it's one game against the Patriots' backups. Okay, first impressions are incredibly important in just about everything. And the first impression we got of Anthony Richardson when he came in as a rookie, it wasn't good. There were some incredible moments, but they were mostly incompletions and bad quarterback play. That is what we saw from Anthony Richardson his first 2 years in the NFL. And then last year, he has this really weird eye injury where a band snaps, he fractures the orbital bone in his eye, and all these questions start surfacing and all these jokes, and rightfully so, because it wasn't funny, but it was like, of anybody, like this makes sense. And one of the questions going into last night was like, can this guy see? I would argue that Anthony Richardson can absolutely see after the way that he performed last night, 11 of 14 passing and 145 yards passing with the yards per attempt at 10.4. That's impressive. So he can see. He didn't bobble any snaps last night. There were a few bad snaps from whoever was playing center. He handled them very well. Riley Leonard botched more snaps than Anthony Richardson did. Okay, so early on, it wasn't good, but we haven't seen him in a year. And I think going into last night, it was like, all right, like we haven't seen this guy in a year. Has he gotten better? And I would argue, based off of one performance against the Patriots backup. So again, I would like more data. But people change and get better over the course of the year. It's like your nephew that you haven't seen in forever. Like the last time you saw him, he was 10 years old, and he didn't know how to not be annoying. But now he's like 15. He clearly gets it a little bit more. He's talking about, college, and you're like, who is this kid? This kid's grown up a little bit. And that's what it felt like watching Anthony Richardson last night. The biggest stat for him last night, 10.4 yards per attempt. That is an excellent indicator for quarterbacks of their overall performance. It's hard to have a yards per attempt over 10 if you don't push the ball down the field. That 10.4 yards per attempt number means every time the Colts dropped back and they threw the football, they picked up a first down. On average, obviously, because obviously if you have 3 incompletions, that's not what happens. But he played really well. Look, he's not perfect. Again, the interception that he threw to Coleman Owen should have caught it, but that ball wasn't thrown in the perfect spot. The fumble was unacceptable. Okay, so again, not perfect, but really good. I do not think that Anthony Richardson is all of a sudden a starting caliber quarterback in the NFL, but it does appear that he's gotten better. And I said this earlier in the week. I would rather be 15 minutes late to a party than 15 minutes early. So I'd like to see a little bit more from Richardson before I say that he's fixed. But last night was a good start towards that. And that's all about him throwing. We haven't even gotten to the running part of this yet. And that's what makes him special. It's just something that makes offense easier. 9 carries for 55 yards and a touchdown. That's 8.8 yards per carry. Daniel Jones is athletic. He can scramble. He can pick up first downs if he needs to. But, come on. Watching Anthony Richardson run and Daniel Jones run is just not the same experience at all. You don't get the designed run game with Daniel Jones the way that you do with Anthony Richardson. And that is such a nice luxury for an offense to have. The Eagles and the Bills had the 2 best red zone offenses in the NFL last year when you go by red zone touchdown percentage. So basically, if you get in the red zone, what percentage of the time are you scoring touchdowns? Every offense with a good offensive line and a good running back are good in the red zone. Because ultimately, if you're going to score touchdowns, you got to be able to run the football when you get in close and it's tough to throw it. Okay? Now, the Bills and Eagles are better than everybody else, or they were last year, at scoring touchdowns in the red zone because they both also have elite runners at the quarterback position that you can design runs for. That's an option that Anthony Richardson affords you that a lot of other quarterbacks don't. I talked about this a bit yesterday. It's why I would rather have Anthony Richardson as a reclamation project compared to J.J. McCarthy. Couple more notes here on Richardson. An underrated thing about his performance last night as well is the Colts didn't have any preventable penalties with him at quarterback. There weren't any illegal formations. There weren't any false starts. There were no procedural penalties with Anthony Richardson in charge of the offense. That is having command of the offense. That is having knowledge of the offense. That is the thing that Shane Steichen preached time and time again last year, getting into the right play, making sure everybody's lined up correctly. Okay, that is one of the most underrated parts of playing quarterback. I thought Anthony Richardson did a great job of that last night. Another really big thing for him, if you go and you watch his press conference, he had a visor on, and it was turned forwards. Progress. That's big. So all in all, for Anthony Richardson, excellent night from him last night. But with his history, we need to see him do it a few more times before we officially restart the Anthony Richardson bandwagon. I'm intrigued to see how he looks against Atlanta. I'm going to get into this with the Riley Leonard stuff, but it helps when you're playing behind the second string offensive line as opposed to the third string offensive line. So we'll see how Anthony Richardson does with a little less talent around him, not this Saturday, but next when they host Atlanta. I can't wait. Should be a great time. We'll look at the other side of this quarterback 2 battle between Anthony Richardson and Riley Leonard in 3 minutes. Three 317-228-1430. If you want to be part of the show, call or text that number. We got a text earlier, a little take, which I like. Like if you're going to call in or text, if you have a take, big fan of that. This person texted, Curry will have more sacks than Latu. You might need some settle down juice. We'll talk about Caden Curry at some point here during the show, but let's just keep in mind that when Caden Curry was on the field, he was playing against the Patriots threes. He looked really good. He was like, I think if you made a list of like stock up guys for the Indianapolis Colts last night on defense, I think Bryce Betcher and Caden Curry are the two guys at the top of that list. We got a little bit of audio from Shane Steichen that will play a little bit later on in the show. But I don't mind the take. Big, bold. The more the merrier. 317-228-1430 if you want to text or call that number. Riley Leonard is the other side of this quarterback two battle here. And as I was watching last night, first and foremost, it was not good. 10 of 21. Threw a bad pick. It wasn't good. But my biggest takeaway watching the game last night, it felt like the Colts were calling plays for Riley Leonard like he's young. It's a lot of bootleg. It was a lot of bootlegs and easy throws, a lot of short stuff. I thought that in comparison, they really let Anthony Richardson play quarterback, and they protected Riley Leonard a little bit more. That is not a knock on Riley Leonard. That's probably how things should be. It's like test driving a brand new Ferrari versus taking your teenager out in a Honda Civic with the student driver sticker on the back. You don't give both drivers the same set of keys. Okay, Anthony Richardson is in year 4. Riley Leonard is in year 2. This is not abnormal. The problem with the Riley Leonard performance is he threw one of the worst interceptions you'll see. He was under pressure, and he just hit the eject button and lofted it up into double coverage. He underthrew it, and he got picked off. That's a panic pick. You can't have those. That's the home seller who gets nervous after 2 weeks on the market and drops the price by $200,000. You panicked, and everybody in the neighborhood knows it. If you're going to play backup quarterback and win, you have to avoid turnovers. That's why the Anthony Richardson fumble was so bad. Like you can't commit turnovers that are easily avoidable. And that's why the Riley Leonard interception was so awful. Just take the sack there. It was hard to evaluate how capable Riley Leonard was last night because it's weird. Like he threw the football 21 times, but it didn't really feel that way. He had 3 balls batted down at the line of scrimmage. Everything he threw was short. He didn't throw the ball beyond the sticks hardly at all. When he did, it normally felt incomplete. He dropped a snap. It felt like buying a fixer-upper house where every time you open a closet, you just discover like another plumbing issue. At some point, like you just stop opening doors. It was really hard to watch. Here is Riley Leonard talking about why he struggled last night.
Yeah, I think you just got to take the film and look at it and see what you learn. Obviously disappointed, but you can reflect on, a lot of things, right? Going against a different defense for the first time. I think you when we're running our plays against this, our own defense, you throw a lot of the same routes. Well, I can't look at it. I can't get used to throwing certain routes. You're playing a completely different defense. So taking each play as it is and understanding, what routes work against certain coverages that we might not have seen yet would be important for me to kind of dive into going into this next game.
Riley Leonard right there talking about just stuff he has to learn. I'm glad he knows he's not playing the same defense that he saw in practice. I don't feel like that's something you necessarily have to learn, but hey, those Notre Dame guys, I was about to make a Notre Dame joke about them being dumb, but that's just not true. So I'll move on. Riley Leonard, 10 of 21 passing, 89 yards, no touchdowns, 1 horrific interception. He also had 2 rushes for 12 yards. He wasn't good at all. No matter how you slice it, it doesn't feel like there was much positivity to really hang your hat on. And that matters, not just because he's competing for that quarterback 2 spot, but with Anthony Richardson, but it matters for the potential Anthony Richardson trade. Like, do the Colts really want to trade Anthony Richardson for a day 3 pick if he's your best option to be your backup and Riley Leonard feels like he can't play? Why not hold on to him if Riley Leonard continues to struggle the way that he did last night? Trading Anthony Richardson right now for a 6th-round pick is like, selling your Apple stock during a temporary market dip just to buy a used riding lawnmower. Just doesn't make any sort of long-term sense. Okay, history tells you Daniel Jones is going to get hurt. He's gotten hurt every year of his career except for one. He's coming off of a torn Achilles. I know he looks great. I know that he's healed back really well. I also know that Achilles tears are scary and that things happen whenever you're back from an injury. So if the Colts are looking at Riley Leonard and they don't feel good about him, then they should just keep Anthony Richardson. We had Zach Pirles on yesterday, and he made an excellent point. It was like, can Anthony Richardson just look like Malik Willis? You can win a couple of games with Malik Willis. You have to change your game plan a little bit. Got to make the throws a little bit easier. Got to run the quarterback a little bit more. Timothy Bowman, we got to call her. Timothy Bowman over on X chiming in saying, since Anthony Richardson led the team in rushing and 8.8 yards per carry, could he emerge as running back 2? And I think that's a bit much, but we're going to get these ideas of Anthony Richardson and a wildcat and those things. And people don't have those ideas unless there's some sort of proof of, this guy can play or whatever it is. Okay. So if they don't feel good about Leonard, maybe they should just hold on to Richardson. Okay. This is a season for Chris Ballard and Shane Steichen where if they don't win, they're going to be looking for new jobs. Okay, they are sitting in the front row of an airline flight on a severe weather warning where there's no safety net whatsoever and turbulence is already happening. If Chris Ballard and Shane Steichen don't win this year, they're not coming back. Certainly Ballard, maybe Steichen, we'll see. And ultimately, Chris Ballard's the one who has to pull the trigger on trading Anthony Richardson. Okay, and look, if they think Anthony's their only viable backup option, then maybe they hold on to him a little bit longer. We'll see. Now, this is really important. This battle's not over. Riley Leonard is going to start the game against the Falcons next Saturday, and he will be better. Part of why he might have struggled last night is because he was playing with the 3s and the 4s and the guys who aren't going to make the roster. When you play behind better offensive linemen and you throw the ball to better receivers, you're just naturally set up to have more success. Trying to evaluate a quarterback playing behind a 3rd-string offensive line is like judging Gordon Ramsay's cooking skills when you only gave him a cheap microwave TV dinner to work with. Okay, Riley Leonard was out there with guys that probably aren't going to make the roster, and it's hard to find a ton of success when you're playing with lower-level players. We'll see if he's any better at home against the Falcons. Luke, what's going on, man? How are you?
John, how's it going, man?
It's going great. Oh, Luke, what's up, dude?
Good to hear your voice.
Hey, you too, man. You too. What's your take? What you think of the Colts last night?
So my take is this. Is Spencer Schrader one of the most underrated pieces of this Colts team?
Oh, man, that's a good question. Can you be underrated if you're in a position battle? I mean, because he is, right? Like, look, he was really good last night. Look, man, when you knock through a 61-yarder, it's hard for me to be like, yeah, you're overrated, So, Groupie did not help himself last night, but Schrader definitely did, even though I think Spencer Schrader struggled a little bit in camp, but I'm sure last night really helped him,
Yeah. I absolutely loved him last year, and his stats last year were just unreal. So it's just one of those situations that's tough. Like, he gets hurt, and then obviously Groupie came in, he finished the season with the Colts, but it's like, dang, that sucks that you get hurt. You had the position. You're one of the best kickers through those first, however many games he was playing. And then now he's got to battle for his position. That's every position, but I absolutely love him.
Yeah, he's been really good in his career, 18 and 19, I think the nice thing from him last night was like seeing him make a 60-yarder, because in his career before last night, like he'd only made one field goal of more than 50 yards. So just like seeing him show off the leg a little bit there is important. And like to add on to kind of what you're saying, like I don't know how you feel about the Colts offense this year, but last year, like there were moments where they won games because they made field goals. And so like that's going to be important for them again this year, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. So it was nice to see him hit that 61-yarder. But man, I was at the game actually that he got injured, and it was just brutal to see someone go down like that end your season.
It is. What'd you think of the quarterbacks?
Honestly, I only got to watch towards the end of the third quarters when I turned it on, and then the fourth quarter. So I didn't even get to see AR. I obviously saw his stats. I saw his rushing TD. But yeah, it was just kind of brutal to watch the end of the fourth quarter. I kind of like what you were saying earlier. I'm excited to see Riley Leonard with, the second team, because it does kind of worry me, like you were saying earlier, if we do trade AR and we've got Riley as our backup, I want to see him succeed, especially since he was sitting by one of my buddies at church the other day.
Oh yeah. The important things,
Right.
Yeah, he's like, it's the preseason's so funny because I feel like I'm taking a shot at this guy, and I'm not. But like Caden Curry was really good last night, but he was playing against third string and fourth string offensive linemen who are going to be selling insurance here in like 3 weeks. And it's hard to have success when you have those kinds of players blocking for you. Whereas like I felt like when Richardson played, we had Destin Adams on yesterday, and he was talking about the importance of like this second string offensive line. I thought that the offensive line blocked really well for Richardson. I don't think that Riley Leonard was afforded the same luxury. Yeah,
that's a good point. Yeah.
So we'll see, man.
That's my point. That's my take. But you hit me with a pretty good argument right off the bat. Is someone underrated if they're in a position?
I mean, that's just. But at the same time, like that could also be a groupie thing, right? Where, I don't know if you caught Mike Vrabel's press conference afterwards, but he was like, the Colts have 2 kickers on their roster that are better than our current kicker. And so,
oh, dang.
Yeah. And so, like, I think you're right. Like, we have 2 quality starting kickers on the roster. The question is just which one do the Colts want to keep, and is there any chance that they trade the other one?
So here's my hot take.
Okay.
Spencer Schrader will go down as a top 5, if not top 3 kicker of all time.
Oh, okay. What makes you say that? That's a very hot take. We're talking like Adam Vinatieri territory.
Yeah, we're talking Adam Vinatieri, Janikowski, we're talking him, and then we're talking Spencer Schrader.
Okay.
That's who we're talking here. It's just, I can't really describe, it's just a feeling, Jonathan.
I get it.
And we'll see it come to fruition here in about 10 years. I'll call back into the show, and
okay,
people who are still listening will remember this take.
Hey, I'm gonna write it down so you can't escape it. If he gets cut, we'll just call you. Okay.
All right. Hey, I'll leave my number for your producer, and yeah, I'll gladly take that call.
Sounds good. Thanks, Luke. See ya. Oh man, that's a call right there. Spencer Schrader is going to be one of the five best kickers ever. Love that. 317-228-1430. That is the number if you want to call in or text that number with a thought or a take on last night's Colts game. One of my takes, Will Mallory should absolutely make this Indianapolis Colts roster. I've been saying this for weeks now, and I'm so glad that he played well last night. Everybody's talking about his receiving ability, which is very important and very true. I want to talk about the other part of playing tight end that's not as sexy, but arguably more important. We'll talk Will Mallory and why he should make the roster in 3 minutes. Three 228-1430. That is the number if you want to call in with thoughts on the Colts preseason tie last night against the Patriots. You can text that number as well. A couple more texts here from the text line. Latu's a workout warrior with great measurements. Curry has way more dog in him. Proven winner. Doesn't play on losing teams. Latu's never played on a winning team. Yeah, that's all true. I mean, I don't know what team success has to do with an individual player. But that's all right. Latu, another first-round Ballard bust. Why are we acting like Latu was bad last year? 8.5 sacks, led the Colts team in that department. He didn't even play last night. Like, what are we doing here? Anyway, Dave Carell over in the YouTube chat with a great point. Anthony Richardson could win us a game or two when Daniel Jones gets hurt. I don't think Riley Leonard could. That is the argument for maybe Chris Ballard's like, I'm going to lose my job at the end of the year anyway. Best chance for me to maybe make the playoffs and keep my job is to make sure that we have a viable backup quarterback on the roster. And so I don't think Chris Ballard wants to trade him because Chris Ballard, like, every other human being ever doesn't like to admit when they're wrong. And trading Anthony Richardson is just him admitting that he's wrong. And honestly, if I'm Richardson, I don't really think I'd be upset at that either. At the end of the year, you can become a free agent, and then you get to pick wherever you want to go. So it'll be interesting to see what kind of ends up happening with that whole Richardson situation as the trade deadline and things come a little bit closer. Last night, if you watched the game on Fox 59, you heard Coach Venturi say last night, I need to get him on the show. I need to text him. You heard him say what I've been saying for weeks now. Putting Will Mallory and Tyler Warren on the field together would cause defenses a lot of issues. You saw it last night. He was too good to be on the field last night. I mean, he was just a problem. 6 receptions for 80 yards on 7 targets. He was, I think, the best player on the field for the Indianapolis Colts last night. He was awesome, and he was always open. The biggest issue with him and why he hasn't played more is the fact that he just hasn't been a good blocker. And I get it. Whenever we talk about tight ends, we have to say Brock Bowers is the best tight end in football because he looks really pretty when he catches the ball. But the best tight end in football is Trey McBride because he can catch the football, but he's also a pretty good blocker as well. And that has been where Will Mallory has struggled going, over the first 3 years of his career. And last night, he wasn't mauling guys when he blocked, but he did a little more than just like hold his own. And if he can just be an average blocker, I'm just average. I don't need outstanding. I just need average. Then he's going to give the Colts the ability to play out of these 2 tight end sets with Tyler Warren, and that'll be a lot of fun to watch. Here is Riley Leonard talking about Colts tight end Will Mallory.
Within the rotation.
Yeah, he's a friendly target. Right? He's a big guy. He understands space, extremely fast, right place at the right time. He's always just coming through and making big catches for us. And you see that practice all the time. Any ball, any high ball, he's usually the guy to come down with it. So he's built a lot of trust with us the past few weeks.
It's a significant 10 days.
Riley Leonard right there talking about tight end Will Mallory. And he's a guy who I think should make a difference this year. I know there's obviously been a lot of discussion around Nick Westbrook-Akina and Ashton Doolin and what the wide receiver 3 battle looks like. By the way, side note on that, you know who didn't play a single snap last night? Ashton Doolin. You know who else didn't play a single snap last night? A bunch of guys that we know are going to play a lot this year. So maybe that's just a coincidence. Maybe he's got like a soft tissue injury or something, and that's why he didn't play. But Westbrook-Akina did play. Ashton Doolin did not. Maybe that's a little peek inside of what this coaching staff is thinking for that wide receiver 3 spot. But back to Will Mallory. If Will Mallory can kind of block, then I don't think we'll be seeing much of Doolin or Westbrook-Akina, because having 2 tight ends on the field, this is the newest fad in the NFL. As linebackers get smaller, offenses are going bigger. They're bringing out the jumbo package. No bell for jumbo package?
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, Chris is out today. I didn't say that at the start of the show. I'm just so fired up for football. We got Jack in here today instead. Yeah, if look, whenever you run the board in here, you just have to turn on that 12-year-old part of yourself.
Yeah, jumbo package should have been an obvious one.
Yeah,
that's on me.
That's okay. It happens. It takes a minute to get in the flow. It's like Anthony Richardson last night. He missed that first throw to Mallory, and after that he settled in and he was good. We're rolling the rest of the way. What you think last night? I haven't asked you yet.
It was better than what I expected a little bit, both from the beginning and the end. Towards the beginning, I was like, man, this is not going to be great. You watched the interception that wasn't really Richardson's fault. It was a little...
Still could have been thrown better, but
yeah.
should have been caught.
That's what I said. Is Yeah. Anyway, but that was bad. And then at the end, I told you earlier that like it got into like 6 minutes left in the fourth quarter, and I did not think we were going to tie it up. But I was pleasantly surprised. I mean, they did the small things right when they needed to do it.
Yeah.
And I think that was kind of the major positive. Like when they need to kind of get down in the dirt and get something done, they'll do it.
Yeah, I thought that the defense played really, really well. I think the most annoying thing about last night, do you bet? Are you a gambler? Do you bet football?
Yeah, but I'm the opposite. My roommate, long time Colts fan, he'll never bet during the season, only bets during preseason. And I never bet during the preseason, only bet during the actual season.
Did he bet on the Colts last night?
Yes, he did.
Oh, was he mad? Was he heated? He should have been.
Not really. He's just happy to see them kind of do somewhat well. So for him, it's just he either wins money or he does well, or the Colts do well.
Yeah,
so
but
he
like
bet against.
he should have won money. Oh wait, he bet against them. So he won his bet. So
he always wins.
He's like, I'm so glad that they didn't review that Seth McGowan touchdown. That should have been a touchdown.
Yeah.
So he's a I call that an emotional hedge. That's what I call it.
That's exactly what it is.
Yeah. Dave Carell asking, have you made your announcement yet, Jonathan Smith? We're gonna do it at 1. So I was just so fired up to talk some football today that I completely forgot. We do have an announcement at 1 o'clock that I'm very excited about. So we'll get to that at 1. We'll probably do Funless Friday right after that. But yeah, I thought all in all, like I thought Will Mallory, of anybody on the field, because he's like, teams don't always carry four tight ends.
Mm-hmm.
It's usually 3. I thought he made a really good case for them to carry 4 last night. I think of all the guys hovering around the cut line, I thought he made the strongest case to stay. What did you kind of make of some of the guys fighting down at the bottom of the roster?
I loved it. I mean, I'm someone who has watched the Colts play like one brand of football almost like the last 3 years. So it's fun to be able to throw Anthony Richardson in there. And who was our running back for the first half? Was it Castle?
So it was a little bit of Seth McGowan, who looked good. I love Anderson Castle.
Yeah, I thought he looked great. I mean, he's someone who's like he'll hit the line of scrimmage and he'll just get 5 yards. And watching him with Richardson back there, it's kind of like throwing like a blanket over like what they're doing in the backfield. I mean, I love being able to watch that where it's like you don't know what is going through their like head. You don't know if off the boot like
it's
is
a little
really
nerve-wracking.
Yeah, like when you see Anthony Richardson go into the boot and you also see like Anderson Castle in the flat, that gets me goosebumps because I know they're at least one going to get something.
Yeah.
Except for that one interception. I mean, that sucked, but that was an outlier in my head.
Yeah, it's gonna sound terrible. I like Anderson Castle because white running backs are a dying breed. We haven't had a good one since Peyton Hillis, and that was 14 years ago.
Yeah.
And so like there's that like, you know, like if I'm just being honest, that part of it. But to what you said, like a guy who always falls forward, and I think that's the mark of a good running back. Like watching McGowan last night, who didn't have some like great game, but his first run looked really good. You could tell that there was a burst. He saw the hole and he went. I think I think this generation of running backs grew up watching Le'Veon Bell, and he would do you remember him?
Oh yeah,
okay,
of course.
Okay. And he would do that thing where he would just like stand still and like wait.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're Le'Veon Bell, you can do that. But if you're 99% of other running backs, you can't. Yeah. And I thought DJ Giddens last year when he played, I thought he was a little too patient. Mm-hmm. And so the nice thing with watching Anderson Castle last night and McGowan is like those guys just went. Mm-hmm. And so I was very pleased with the way that the running backs played.
Yeah. Going back to Will Mallory, do you think like if a player gets hurt, like Tyler Warren or once somebody big like last year when Daniel Jones goes down, switching in Phillip Rivers is pretty a big swift and like tone change on the offense. Do you think like if someone big like Tyler Warren goes down, having Will Mallory or now even having Anthony Richardson a little bit more confident, do you think will adapt easier with a big injury this year compared to last year?
So it kind of depends
where it's at.
Yeah, because like I do think one of the nice things about the preseason is you get to look at the full roster, and you can sit back and identify, like, coming out of the game last night, I feel better than I have the past couple of years about who the backup quarterback is.
Mm-hmm.
You feel, I think, really good about the tight end depth because of how well Mallory played, and I think you have to love the depth at linebacker. I think you could make a really strong case that the best group of players that we saw from start to finish were just all the guys that rotated in and out at linebacker, whether it was Ojki or Carly's, and like we didn't even see CJ Allen, right? And so I think you have to feel good about that. I think you have to feel pretty good at safety. I know Hunter Wohler, I think he went out, he got evaluated for a concussion, but like the snaps he played, he looked good. Halsey was everywhere. So coming out of the game, like, I think the Colts could hold up if they have injuries at safety. I think they could hold up with injuries at tight end. And then, like, obviously if Daniel Jones, like, goes out for, like, 10 weeks, not great. But if he, like, rolls his ankle and needs to miss a game, I think that the Colts could withstand that depending on the opponent. I think if they had an injury at guard, we'd be fine because Jalen Farmer was just mauling dudes. It was great to watch. I don't, and then so like those are kind of the areas where if the Colts were to get banged up, I think we'd feel okay. If they got hurt at defensive tackle, though, I think we're just shy of screwed. Because like Tillery didn't look good, Noddy didn't look good. I mean, we're talking about guys that are going to be the backups getting blown 3 yards off the ball by New England Patriot third string centers. Like that's not okay. And then I think at edge rusher, I think you feel a little bit better. Because Caden Curry and George Gumbs, I thought both looked awesome. And again, like I feel like such a downer whenever I say this, and I'm not trying to be. I'm just laying out all of the facts. Those are third string offensive linemen. With that being said, Noddy and Tillery didn't hold up against them, and George Gumbs and Caden Curry looked really, really good to a point where we got a listener saying that Caden Curry's going to have more sacks than Latu this year, which would be crazy, by the way. Like if that happens, I'm just going to tip. I'm going to tip my cap in the biggest way because I just don't know if Caden Curry's going to play enough for that to happen. But I do understand feeling that way after the game. Yeah. Sorry, that was a really long answer to what you asked.
No, I thought it was a great answer. Yeah. I mean, I like when you talk about like D tackles, like they looked really good at holding the run last night. I think I looked at 60 rush yards, 70 rushing yards yesterday. I mean, throughout the whole game.
For the Patriots averaged 2 yards per carry.
Like that's pretty great defensive wise.
It was. Yeah.
I thought that was good to see. And I thought they were going to have a pretty good run game. I mean, Patriots offensive line looks pretty good. So, defensive tackles I'd be a little bit worried about, but everything else, like our weak links look pretty strong.
Yeah, I had to keep reminding myself this, like it's one preseason game. I think Atlanta's a little bit better than people think that they're going to be this year. Like their defense was pretty good last year, second in the league in sacks. So I think we'll learn a little bit more about this team going forward. But I thought that all of the things that you wanted to see from the Colts yesterday, you did in terms of like backup quarterback. Looks like it might not be an issue if Richardson keeps playing that well. You saw a couple of guys really play well, like Will Mallory. AJ Halsey looked really good at safety. Bryce Betcher played well. Caden Curry, George Gumbs had a couple of like positive moments as well. So we'll see how it goes. It's like I'm trying not to get my hopes up because like I want to, like Timothy Bowen just tweeting to me on X. All this positive talk makes me feel like the Colts are going to win the AFC South. I kind of feel that way right now too, but like I need the weekend to like come down from this football high. We'll see how I feel on Tuesday. But great night last night from the Indianapolis Colts. We'll see if it continues or not. It is Friday, which means that we got to do a little bit of Fun List Friday here on the Real Jonathan Smith Show. We'll do that at 1:00 right after we give our big announcement, something I'm very excited about that's happening next week. We'll do that at 1:00. Hour number 2 of the Real Jonathan Smith Show getting underway. Slight change in plans. We're going to have Kent Sterling come on the show here in like 30 seconds or so. And then we got Coach Odom coming on the show on Wednesday, head coach at Purdue. Very, very excited about that. Purdue fans, if you have questions that you'd like for me to ask him, tweet them at me, text the phone line. I'm excited about it. Can't wait to get Coach Odom on the show here on Wednesday. Should be a great time as we get ready for college football to start up here in a couple of weeks. You good, Jack? Okay. Did I text you the right number? 444. Yeah. I almost said it on the air. That would have been bad. Yeah, that should be it. Oh, there. He's calling you back. So if you'll just take him on too there. All right, there we go. Oh, man. Kent, you there?
I'm here.
Ah, great. Kent's, go and check him out on YouTube. Just search for Kent Sterling, and all of his fantastic IU and Colts coverage and so much more will pop up. All right, Kent, let's get straight into it. Football's back. Let's start with the quarterbacks. What'd you make of Anthony Richardson and Riley Leonard last night?
I was really disappointed with Riley Leonard, but Anthony Richardson gave you exactly what you thought you would get. You would get, in every 10 plays, you're going to get 8 where you say, whoa, that guy is a terrific quarterback. This guy's going to win us games. Then you get a play that's just like head scratching, and then you get a play that kills your team. You get that one. It's like with Anthony Richardson, it's like playing cards. It's like playing Texas Hold'em. And he plays like 8 hands at the table perfectly, and he's methodically stacking his chips. And then he's got an inside straight draw, and he moves all in, and he craps out, and he's out of the table. That's Anthony Richardson to me. He's going to do something that is just so deleterious to your chance to win that you can't get past it. While in between those plays that come every once in a while, he's like stepping into balls and he's squeezing them into tight windows. He's tucking it. He's going. He looks great. And then he'll also do this, where he'll create contact instead of run out of bounds or slide. And he puts himself in a situation where he's going to get hurt. He's still the same guy. He cannot be trusted. You've got a coach in Shane Steichen, and really all coaches are like this. They define the play of their personnel by their worst. What do they do that's really, really bad for them? What is the mistake? That's what defines them. And Anthony Richardson hasn't gotten past making the mistakes. Great quarterbacks don't make the mistakes that Anthony Richardson makes. And then Riley Leonard, wow, did he look overwhelmed? It just didn't look like he was ever comfortable. He was kind of wide-eyed. He was and you saw it in practice. This isn't an anomaly. In practice, he doesn't get hit. So he's not real skittish and doesn't get happy feet. But what he does is he holds onto the ball too long. His pre-snap reads are not accurate enough for him to trust yet. And so he's not ready thinking, okay, I got this guy over here, or unless it's Mallory, because Mallory was running free the whole night. I think he just started keying in on 86 all the time and getting the ball to him. But other than that, I thought that Riley Leonard looked like a guy who cannot play a competent quarterback at this point in his career. Maybe that comes. So I think between the two, like maybe you got something that can generate some offense. But boy, oh boy, if I were Chris Ballard, I'm working the phones and trying to get somebody who you can trust a little bit to operate the offense as it's designed.
Yeah, the frustrating thing for me with Richardson last night was that fumble. Because, like, the interception, not a great throw, but, like, I think should have been caught. And outside of that throwing the ball, I think that's the best he's looked. Like, had a couple nice throws to Mallory on the sideline to go, 50 yards in 28 seconds is, I think, impressive. It's just like you said, it's that one stupid mistake that is so easily avoidable and that you would think in year 4 he wouldn't make. Like, you're 7 yards down the field, still holding the football like you have the option to throw it. Like you said,
Yeah.
slide, run out of bounds, or just tuck it. I don't really care at this point. But all in all, I thought just given because it's been a year since we've seen him play, I thought he looked more comfortable. Like the play of him getting absolutely crushed by a blitzer against Baltimore, I think sits in everybody's heads whenever we think about him. And I thought just commanding the offense, I thought he looked more comfortable. They didn't have any like false starts or illegal motions. It's just that one stupid fumble, you know?
Yep. And that kills you. And that kills Steichen. I mean, and you could hear it in what Steichen had to say in the postgame, where it's like he did some good things. When Shane Steichen says he did some good things, what he means is he did a couple of things so paralytic and so incredibly stupid that I can't get them out of my head. But I've got to acknowledge that he did some good things because that's what I'm supposed to say to the media.
Yeah, absolutely. Joined by Kent Sterling. Go and search for him up on YouTube. Check out his YouTube channel. He does a great job covering the Colts, IU, and a lot more. And then the Riley Leonard thing, to your point, like it looked bad. And the concerning part for me is I thought they really dumbed things down for him. Like it was a lot of boots and short throws. And he just, like you said, he looked overwhelmed. How much of that, though, is the fact that he's playing behind the third string offensive line and throwing to guys that probably won't make the roster outside of Mallory?
Well, we're going to get an idea of that this coming Saturday, a week from tomorrow, when we see him play against the Falcons, because maybe that was a thing. And at the same time, you've got to acknowledge that he was playing against the 2 and the 3s. And maybe the Patriots just have better 2s and 3s than the Colts do. And maybe that caused sort of the disruption. And that's entirely possible. He didn't look horrific last year when the Colts played against the Texans, going up against their defensive 2s. And so, you know, I think there's still some hope. But he's a guy, I mean, in the national championship game for Notre Dame a couple of years ago, when he was the gutsiest guy. I mean, that first drive was just awesome. He kept putting himself in harm's way, and he willed that team, that Irish team, to a touchdown on that first drive. And then it all kind of went away because you can't take that kind of pummeling for 60 minutes and hope to survive. You know, so this is a guy, he's got a lot of guts. He is a smart kid. He's trying to figure it out. And maybe he does eventually, but he's nowhere near ready to start, no matter who he's playing behind, whether it's, you know, Quentin Nelson and Matt Consalves and Tanner Bordellini, or whether it's, you know, Dalton Tucker and you know, a cast of seventh rounders. Either way, I don't think that this would go really, really well against a group of ones. Like the good thing last night for Riley Leonard and for Anthony Richardson, they were throwing to 2s and 3s, but those 2s and 3s were being defended by 2s and 3s. Yeah. You know, if you're thrown to 1s, but you're thrown into the tight windows that are created by the starting secondary of your opponent, you're going to have a tougher time kind of negotiating that and completing those balls. And so that it's you get, you give, right? And you know, almost in equal proportion based upon the players that you're with and the players you're playing against in the preseason or the regular season.
Absolutely. And I try to keep all that in mind whenever I'm talking about these guys. Like, I know people are very excited about Caden Curry, who was awesome last night, but like, you know, third string offensive line, a little bit different than the starting offensive line. But I thought the most enjoyable thing to watch last night was the linebackers. Like, I'm sitting there watching Kent, and I'm looking at my wife, and I'm like, where did all this like sideline to sideline speed come from? Like they're flying around. I thought Bryce Betcher was awesome, and I know Lou Anarumo's a guy who likes to rotate linebackers in and out throughout the season. I feel pretty good about that. After last night, what'd you make of the defense and the linebackers?
I liked it, and a guy who's kind of flashed during camp is Taj Campbell, number 44. Yeah. Where like, I'm still used to seeing Zaire Franklin wearing 44. And so at practice, I'm like, wow, hey, 44 is fast all of a sudden. And so it's good to see Taj Chambers play as well as he did. I agree with you about Caden Curry, but Caden Curry did things that I think suggest he might be able to do it against ones. And so as you move forward in the preseason and even into the regular season, I'd give this guy some snaps and see what he does against real offensive linemen. Because last night, like his instinctual ability to seek out the ball and go get the guy carrying it, I thought was really, really interesting and maybe the most compelling thing about the night. I thought Carlisle played really well. I thought Betcher played well. But Betcher is a guy, he's going to be a good run-stopping linebacker. But coverage is going to be a little bit problematic for Betcher in all likelihood. He's not real fleet of foot, and that's going to be exposed. So, I'm trying not to get so excited about Betcher, but I am really excited about Curry. And oddly, like George Gumbs, they haven't done a whole lot of one-on-one work at practice up at Grand Park, but when they did it a little bit, Gumbs got a couple of reps, and he was really, really good. They went ones against ones, twos against twos. So it was against the backup guy, but man, did he look athletic. And then last night, like he can get the edge on guys. He looks like a guy who maybe in a year, maybe in 2 years, he winds up being the kind of edge who's going to go get you, 6-8 sacks in a season. Maybe a guy like Al-Qadim Muhammad, or, the extreme example of this is Robert Mathis back in the day, who was, down draft guy, and nobody knew whether they were going to play him at linebacker or play him at edge, but a freak athlete. And this, I think Gumbs kind of has that athleticism to him. I don't know whether he's going to be anywhere near that successful, but I was excited by his athleticism yesterday.
He looked good. Like, to your point, like he played receiver. He played wide receiver in college. And so I thought that you could see the speed with him coming off the edge, which was really nice to see. Again, joined by Kent Sterling talking about the Colts game last night. It was nice to see because Jalen Tuimoloau did not impress at all. Which is concerning considering he is in a competition. Like Arden Key didn't play last night, so I don't know how much of a competition it really is. What'd you think of him? Because he's supposed to kind of be one of the guys this year.
Yeah, I've been kind of disappointed in him in practice and in the game last night. I really thought that they wanted him to be the starter. They wanted him to be that guy and have Arden Key be a situational pass rush guy. And it's not really working out that way. It looks like Tuimoloau is having a tough time justifying a spot on the field. Although last year he started slow. His rookie year, like he didn't get anything done the first 8 weeks and really wasn't on the field much. And then he got some more opportunities. And the more opportunities he got, the more productive he got. So maybe he's just kind of a slow starter guy. But I didn't think he was real impressive last night. I am real excited. I got to tell you the truth. Like Bernard Ryman is a really good left tackle, right? But in practice, doing those one-on-ones, Arden Key absolutely undressed him. Like he looked great coming off that edge around Bernard Ryman. He put Bernard Ryman on roller skates and was tremendous. And Latu did the same thing on the other side with Jalen Travis. The thing that I'm really looking forward to in a month when they play against the Ravens is seeing what Latu and Key can do on the outside of that defensive line. And then if they're aided at all by like Gardner and Ward and Wally at corner, and those guys can hold their coverage for an extra quarter to a half second, I think that Latu and Key can get home a lot.
I hope you're right, because that is, I think, the biggest question for this defense this year. I know Buckner's back. Everyone says that he's looked pretty good in practice, which is nice to hear.
Yep.
But like those edge rusher spots, I think that's really the concern more than anything else. So if Latu can, I think the last time you were on, you talked about him taking another like 4-sack step. That would be awesome.
Yeah.
If Arden Key on the other side can do, be like an 8.5 sack guy, that'd be awesome. Will Mallory, though, I thought of anybody nearing the cut line last night, just because, not because he's not good enough to be on a roster, just most teams don't carry 4 tight ends. I thought he made a pretty compelling case. I know there's been a lot of concern of, playing with 3 receivers. You could also just play with 2 tight ends. What'd you make of Will Mallory last night?
I thought he looked really good. He is an excellent receiver. He is not an excellent blocker. And in the Colts system, you really need to be able to do both a little bit. And so Tyler Warren can. Mo Ali Cox is more blocker than receiver, but he's a capable receiver. And then Ogletree is a guy that I think, keep waiting to blossom. He can receive a little bit, and he's a pretty good blocker, and he does some things on teams. So having a 4th tight end is a real luxury. But like Rick Venturi said on the TV broadcast last night, if you can play Warren and Mallory at the same time, 2 wide receivers, put Pearson Doolin out there and Taylor in the backfield, I don't know what you do as a defensive coordinator. I don't know who you try to take away, because you don't know, because you've got 2 tight ends in the game. You're kind of built to run the ball. But at the same time, Warren and Mallory are both exceptionally good at being a receiving tight end. I think that's just kind of fun. I think that Steichen, what I hope Steichen is a guy who's going to look at his assets and design an offense around it. I think more often than not, though, he decides what his offense is and he finds guys to plug and play it. I think Will Mallory is a talented enough receiver that I think you can have kind of a subset of an offense where you run that group and really get some things done. I think Mallory's that good a receiver. He doesn't drop the ball. He runs after the catch. He's the fastest tight end by far. I just think that he's got a skill set that's very unique.
It is, but like you said, the blocking isn't great, but you can run him out there on 3rd and 8 and cause some problems. So we'll see. It's it's an interesting thing, because I do think Ashton Doolin not playing at all last night, like, that means something to me, because he's in this battle with Westbrook Akina, who we did see, and I don't believe Doolin got hurt at practice. Maybe he did. But I thought
that I'm aware of.
Yeah. I thought that was a little revealing in terms of what they're kind of thinking with that position. Last thing for you here, Kent, and I'll let you go. I thought that the backup defensive tackles, with the exception of Adebawore, were nothing short of awful last night.
Yeah.
Christian Wilkins is just like hanging out there. I know he's a little weird and he likes to kiss guys on the forehead, and that doesn't always go over very well. But at this point, I just feel like if I'm Chris Ballard, and I understand that I'm way smarter than he is, but if I was desperate to just make the playoffs, I think at some point I would take a little bit of a risk with like finding a guy like Wilkins who's got a bit of a pass. At the same time, they worked out Terry and Arnold, who got arrested for, robbery and kidnapping. So like why not bring in this Wilkins guy who's a little funky? But I think that depth at defensive tackle is needed, especially with the ages of Grover Stewart and Buckner. What do you kind of think about that?
Yeah, I would, to kind of dovetail on what you're saying about the urgency thing, Carly Ursay-Gordon told us that there's never been greater urgency, and the guys all understand that there's urgency. And you just played against a Patriots team that went to the Super Bowl and lost, and so you would think that they wouldn't be very urgent, but they had a weakness, and that was wide receiver. They traded for A.J. Brown, and they signed Romeo Doubs. Those are 2 kind of urgent moves. And what have the Colts done? I mean, Daniel Noddy, Michael Clemens, the trade for Colby Wooden, which I think was more about offloading Zaire Franklin than going out and getting Colby Wooden. You didn't do anything that really kind of like rings a bell that you understand how important this is. He keeps trying to build a team for 3 years from now. And that's what he's always done. He's never mortgaged the future to get a really good present. And if that was ever going to be something that he was going to do, I think it was going to be this offseason, and he didn't do it. I understand that they think they're going to be better because Daniel Jones is going to be healthy, at least initially, and that Sauce Gardner and Mooney Ward hopefully are healthy. And with everybody having good health, at least for some period, they've got a chance to be very competitive. But the urgency you just didn't see. And maybe they could have gone out and they could have gotten an edge, and they made efforts to go get an edge, but they couldn't close the deal, and it wound up being what it wound up. But I just don't see urgency out of Chris Ballard. And I think that that's kind of what's demanded when you're in the NFL, because you have general managers who do that. I mean, the Rams are doing everything they can to win right now. The Texans went out and tried to at least rebuild to some extent their horrible offensive line. Everybody's trying to get better, not for 2028, but for 2026. And I think Ballard he's a far-sighted general manager at a time when very few others are. And so you're unable to compete at the same level.
Couldn't have said it any better. No notes on that, Kent. That was great stuff. That was great. Yeah. It's just, and you would just, I don't know. Maybe people are just different, but I would just like to think that if I was somewhere for 10 years, eventually I would realize, you know what? We haven't made the playoffs in 6 years. What if I was just like a little more aggressive? But, you know, Chris has mentioned beforehand that he'll never make a move to jeopardize the franchise after he's gone. And maybe he's just a better person than I am, Kent.
And he has made it 10 years without ever winning a division title. So there's something he's doing right. I don't know what it is, but there's something going on there where he's getting something done.
He's won one playoff game. That's it.
And it was 8 years ago.
It was. It's incredible. It's incredible. Kent, thanks for your time. What else is coming up over at the Kent Sterling YouTube page?
Obviously, we're talking about Sophie Cunningham and Caitlin Clark. You can't keep people from watching and listening to things about the Fever. And if Stephanie White, if she wants to get the media together and yell at us again and bang her fist, I'm all for it.
What Stephanie White said, I was just kind of like, okay, whatever. I thought Caitlin Clark's comments afterwards about the crowd booing Coach White, making her sick. That to me was like, okay, like the players like her. That's really all that matters. But like the 2.5 minute rant from Stephanie White was just like, oh, okay, this is fine.
Well, if you're going to preach love and understanding and grace and dignity and then tell everybody else to go to hell, I don't think you're not really standing by your own message, I don't think.
Yeah, I don't think you are either. And just, I will say, I thought that the one good point she made was, like, if you turn on Fox News or CNN or whatever your news channel of choice is, they very rarely, if ever, talk about the NFL or the NBA or Major League Baseball. They seem to find a way to talk about the WNBA every day, which is just, I think, a problem. Like, no one talks about the league or the fact that, like, the Fever are good. It's about everything else, and they have to find a way to fix that.
You know what? And you're exactly right. And that shows. I went to ESPN. I used to go to Bristol a lot, and I was talking to an executive at Bristol, and he said, what ESPN is at its core is a research company that broadcasts sports. Like, we make sure every day that we're talking about the things that people want to hear about. If you see social unrest video like Stephanie White banging her fist on the NBC nightly news, you've kind of screwed the pooch, and you're moving in a direction that is likely not for the benefit of your overall game and the popularity of your game, despite the fact that people are talking about it. And you need to be very careful with that. You need to be careful that you don't let the tail wag the dog. This has got to be a basketball league if it's going to succeed. It can't be the Real Housewives of the WNBA, or people are going to stop watching entirely eventually. Right now, it's ringing bells, and you're going to get ratings next weekend for the Chicago Sky hosting the Fever, maybe the highest rated regular season game in WNBA history, because Carrington and Cunningham are going to be back on the court together. But that is not the kind of attention you want.
No, it's not. It's the same as the attention that they got when the Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark rivalry was
Yep.
like a big deal. And
Yep.
it's like great. Like, you have people watching, but they're watching because they're hoping this turns into a UFC event.
Right.
And so
100%.
they've got to find a way to fix that. I think the answer is to screw it. I'll just say it. They need to hire a dude to be the commissioner of the league who can like kind of step in and really manage things. I think Kathy Engelbert's just too nice. They need someone who's got a little bit more of a backbone than she does.
Well, if they're unwilling to say this is what a woman is and this is who we want in our league, and then by doing that, saying who we can't have in our league, if they're unwilling to do that, then what decision are they willing to make? You know what I mean? Like that would seem to be self-evident, but evidently it's not.
Yeah. Last thing on the NBA here. I thought Stephanie White saying we won't let the stuff that's trying to hijack our league win. I took that as the Fever will not be drafting Royce White or Enes Kanter this next year.
I thought it was really like what she seems not to understand is the problem is within. The problem isn't without. It's not people on social media. People on social media are responding to Carrington and her white privilege at Indiana Fever comment. That's what they're responding to. They have done this to themselves. These are self-inflicted wounds. And she needs to understand that. This isn't like her response to Carrington is what drove the boos the other night before the Liberty game when she was introduced. The genesis of all of this is not external. It's not people showing up at Fever games and deciding that they don't like somebody. It's a lack of likability in that there was no defense for Sophie Cunningham, but all kinds of defense for Carrington. And I like Stephanie White. I've never had a negative encounter with her. She's just awesome. Really, really nice person. But like they keep getting this wrong at a level that's really hard to correct because it appears to be like at the core of what that league is. And they're just angry about others. And what they need to do is look in the mirror a little bit and instead of looking at, us and saying, look at all the pimples on your forehead, they need to go see a dermatologist themselves and get rid of some of that acne.
Yeah, they do. There's a lot of problems. I thought Stephanie White saying, that she hadn't seen the replay when she answered the question about it, that to me made things worse. Because it's like, if you haven't seen the replay and you're just blindly defending the opponents, that's not a great look.
And it did happen immediately in front of her.
It did. And so she's just, it's a hard job. Oh, she also talked about the league being unified, which I just like, they're unified against the Fever. That's how it feels.
Yeah.
And so there's just, it is the gift that keeps on giving for summer sports talk, but it is tiring.
You know what? I'm ready to write, Kathy. I would do one of two things if I were tasked to do it. If somebody would pay me to do it, I would either fire Kathy Engelbert or I would write her a really nice thank you letter for all that she's done for me and everybody else in sports media. It's kind of a we like her, but we don't respect her all at the same time, and that's kind of weird.
It is really weird. So, all right, Kent, I'll let you go for real this time. I said bye like 12 minutes ago, but this has been fun. Thanks for the time.
Thanks, Jonathan.
You got it. That is Kent Sterling. Go and check him out on YouTube. Just search for Kent Sterling, and he'll pop up pretty quickly. He does a great job covering the Colts, IU, and so much more. The Fever, as he mentioned there. We're gonna keep talking Colts. I've got a great Funless Friday topic. I've got 5 players for Funless Friday that meet the too good for the preseason category. I'll tell you who they are in 3 minutes. Big thank you to, whoa, my mic came loose there. Big thank you to Kent Sterling for joining us in that last segment to talk Colts and Fever. That wasn't planned, but hey, sometimes it happens. Welcome into the Real Jonathan Smith Show. Thank you for tuning in, no matter how you're tuning in. YouTube, Indie Sports Ticket, if you want to head over there and subscribe. You can also watch the show on X__ Jonathan Smith to follow me there and watch the show there. You can also listen on the Indie Sports Ticket app, which you can download wherever you find your apps. So it is Friday, which means we got to get into Fun List Friday here on the Real Jonathan Smith Show.
It's Fun List Friday!
All right, so for Fun List Friday today, coming off the first Indianapolis Colts preseason game, I've put together a list of 5 players that played last night that I would deem as too good for the preseason. So these are guys who were having to play with backups, and you can just tell, like, they don't belong out there with backups in any way, shape, or form. So let's start up here at the top. The one defensive tackle last night for the Indianapolis Colts that I thought played well, that I thought was reliable, is Adetomiwa Adebawore. This is a guy that we have talked about a fairly decent amount during his time in Indianapolis, former 4th-round pick. Only had 2 tackles. That's because he didn't play very much. And whenever he was on the field, he was just dominating whatever center or guard was lined up across from him. This is a guy who should undoubtedly play on 3rd down throughout the regular season. He is, behind DeForest Buckner, their best pass rushing defensive tackle. And it is such a valuable thing to have guys up the middle who can create pressure, because those guys are closer to the quarterback than the guys out on the edge. So if you can have guys who can win in the middle, it just makes everything else easier. You get quarterbacks flushed out of the pocket where there are edge rushers. So Adebawore, I thought looked awesome. He'll keep playing in the preseason, but if they didn't play him again, I'd be like, yeah, that makes sense, because he's absolutely going to play important snaps for the Indianapolis Colts this year. Will Mallory is on this list as well. He should make the roster. Teams don't always carry 4 tight ends, but when he is far and away your best pass catcher in these preseason games, I mean, this is the 4th year now where we've seen this. 6 receptions for 80 yards last night on 7 targets. He catches everything. He's a big target. The Colts should absolutely carry 4 tight ends because he's just that good. You heard Kent Sterling say it in the last segment. He is their fastest tight end, so having a guy who can stretch defenses vertically down the seam would be a nice thing to have. I know he's not some great blocker. Can we find a way for him to just like get in the way a little bit? You know, I'm not saying that he has to serve pancakes week 1 against the Ravens, but just be average and give yourself an opportunity to get on the field, because he's that good of a weapon. Jalen Farmer, also on this list, rookie offensive guard, 4th-round pick out of Kentucky. That dude mauling people. I mean, just like absolutely devouring the interior defensive lineman for New England last night. That's what Jalen Farmer was doing in the run game, just moving bodies, taking large men who don't want to be moved and moving them against their will. Like that is what Jalen Farmer was doing last night. Now, it wasn't to a point where Matt Gonsalves needs to like look over his shoulder. I don't think he has anything to worry about, but we don't either. If Matt Gonsalves or Quentin Nelson go down, Jalen Farmer seems like a guy who's going to be very capable of stepping in against the opposing team's starters and playing at least to a respectable level. Number 4, Justin Travis, or Jalen Travis. My bad there. Started at right tackle last night for the Indianapolis Colts. He only played 1 series. This is the Colts' new starting right tackle. He played 1 series and he was done. He didn't play very many snaps because he looked good. That's why he came out so quickly. Colts just probably wanted to give him a few extra reps. He did, again, more than hold his own. He looked like a starter on the field against backups. I think he has to make this list. And then finally, Seth McGowan. I thought of all the backs that the Colts rolled out there last night, Seth McGowan was the most explosive of them all. He only had 5 carries, but when he got the football, it felt like good things happened. There was a bit of a burst whenever he got the football, and that's what you want to see. Like the ball goes in their hand, and then they just go. And that's what we saw from Seth McGowan last night. Those are my 5 players for Fun List Friday who are just too good for the preseason. And we'll keep talking about these guys as we continue to talk about that Colts preseason game last night. Great time. Jack, is there anybody you would add to the list?
That was too good for preseason.
Yeah, where you looked out there and it's like, all right, like this guy, clearly very talented.
I wanted to say Spencer Schrader so bad.
I mean, going to be one of the 5
Yeah.
best kickers ever eventually. So, I mean, you can throw him out there.
I want to throw, but at the same time, I mean, I like to see everybody get reps, so it's hard for me to discern. Like, I do like that Ashton Doolin's not out there.
Yeah.
I'm glad he's not out there right now because I want him to be that third guy that we can throw out there and just kind of be scrappy. But for yesterday's game, I don't know. I liked everybody that was out there. I can't say that I would have switched the lineup at all.
Yeah, absolutely. That's fair. Like, it was a really nice game to watch. I'm hoping that CJ Allen's back next Saturday so we can watch him play a little bit. Because I did think that the linebackers looked good, but it was, like you said, a really good showing last night. And yeah, I'm fired up. Can't wait to see where they kind of go from here, just in terms of the plan, in terms of starters that are going to play versus sit. Should be good. So 317-228-1430. That is the number if you want to call in or text with your thoughts on the Colts game last night against the Patriots. I got a couple of tweets that I'll get to here after this break, and we're going to keep talking about the game last night. I haven't done all my stuff on Caden Curry and George Gumbs yet, and just how reassuring, or not reassuring, but how important it is that both of those guys looked like they can play a little bit. We'll talk about Caden Curry and George Gumbs in 3 minutes. Colts tied with the New England Patriots last night, and Center Grove alum Caden Curry, 6th-round pick of the Indianapolis Colts out of Ohio State, played pretty well last night. As a whole, I thought that the Colts defensive line was okay. Adetomiwa Adebawore was unblockable when he was on the field. He dominated whoever was in front of him. But after him, the defensive tackles weren't great. Tillery and Noddy got blown off the ball pretty consistently. It just reinforced the idea that DeForest Buckner and Grover Stewart have to stay healthy for this Colts defense to find some semblance of success this year. But then I was encouraged by Caden Curry and George Gumbs. You can understand why the Colts took George Gumbs. He is a project, but he is incredibly gifted off the edge. This guy played wide receiver in college. That's how you know he's athletic. He's fast. You could see it when he came in the game. When he came in the game, his get off incredibly quick. Okay, he had a sack in the game. I thought he looked good. I don't know if I would say he was unblockable like Adebawore, but again, you can tell why the Colts took him in the 5th round, and maybe he turns into like a rotational pass rusher at some point, but solid outing from him. And then you got Caden Curry, and you can make a very strong argument that he was the Colts' best defensive player last night. He led them in total tackles with 6. He had a sack. He had 2 tackles for loss. He had 3 more quarterback hits in there as well. So a really nice night from him rushing the passer, which is so important. And he was just all over the place. He tipped a few passes as well. Again, he had the sack. He was really solid in the run game, made multiple plays from behind the defense where the Patriots would run like a stretch play to the other side of the field. He would slide down the line, make sure that the quarterback wasn't, running any sort of a bootleg, and then he would just run the ball carrier down. It was impressive stuff from him. He might play this year. He's an older college player. He's supposed to be the kind of guy that can come in and contribute for you immediately. I think that's possible. But like he was on the field against the Patriots 3s. And to his credit, he made them look like 3s. He made them look like guys who weren't on his level. And that's what you want to see, right? Here is Coach Steichen talking about Caden Curry and some of the other young defenders on this Colts defense.
So Caden Curry, what he was able to do.
Yeah, I think defensively, a lot of rookies. Caden Curry made a ton of plays. I was really pleased with him. Bryce Betcher was flying around. Gumbs made some plays. So it was really good to see the young guys defensively, especially with the sudden change and the turnovers that we had offensively to stop those guys was big.
What did you think?
Shane Steichen right there talking about Caden Curry and this young Colts defense. And it was a very encouraging thing to see because like Bryce Betcher is probably going to get opportunities to play this year. Caden Curry probably going to get some opportunities to play this year. Austin Ojke probably going to get some opportunities this year to get out there and play. Same thing with guys like Hunter Wohler. So and Jalen Carlisle. So it was good to see the production that we saw from this front 7 because when you look at this Indianapolis Colts defense this year, like that is the concern. I think everybody feels great about Wally, who played good in the couple of snaps that everybody feels good about Sauce. Everybody feels good about Javarius Ward. Halsey looked really good last night. He probably should have been on my fun list Friday of guys who looked too good to be in the game. And then obviously I think everyone feels pretty good about Cam Bynum as well. The question is the front 7. And there's a lot of question at linebacker because there's a lot of new faces. The guys that we saw were fast. They played downhill. It was so nice to see just guys flying around, making plays. There were plays made consistently in the backfield. Like that's not a thing that linebacking corps led by Zaire Franklin used to do. 7 tackles for loss in the game from the Colts is a great number for them to be at. It's why they held the Patriots to to basically 2.5 yards a carry. So it was just very encouraging seeing this front seven, and the leader of that was Caden Curry, which is good, but it's also concerning because the leader of that should have been Jalen Tuimoloau. And, you want to talk about bust. It's Jalen Tuimoloau. Like, I want so badly for him to be good because the Colts desperately need for him to be good. But, like, when you watched him last night, it was just uninspiring. He didn't look athletic. He looked stiff. He looks like he needs to put on, 20 pounds and try to play defensive tackle. That's what he looks like. Because, like, whenever they talk about edge rushers, they talk about bend and ankle flexion and all those kinds of things. Jalen Tuimoloau doesn't have any of that. Doesn't have any of it. And so, sure, he was good in the run game, but you don't draft edge rushers for the way that they defend the run. Like, that's just not, it's like buying a car because it has nice cup holders. It's like, is this nice? Sure, but that's not why I'm buying it. Okay, and so Jalen Tuimoloau has been just a really big disappointment so far through camp and the one preseason game that we've seen. I will halfway defend him here for a moment. The Patriots chipped him a lot. Like, there was a lot of lining a tight end up on his side and having him get chipped on pass rushing downs. And Jalen Tuimoloau is just not good enough to beat a chip and a backup offensive tackle. He's just not good enough to do that. I'll be honest, I don't think the Colts have anyone on their roster that's good enough to do that. So there's your half-hearted defense of him. But, it could have been, should have been a lot better than what it was last night in terms of everything that we saw. Timothy Bowman chiming in on X saying, how big would Jags at Colts be to end the season with Anthony Richardson under center to win the division, make the playoffs, and save his career in Ballard's job? That'd be pretty epic. I mean, selfishly for the show, kind of got to root for that, right? It's like that give us so many things to talk about for week 18. So, do I think that's going to happen? No, just because this offensive line is talented enough that I expect for Daniel Jones to stay upright for the majority of the season. He'll probably play 14 or 15 games. So I think we'll see Anthony Richardson for 2 if they decide to hold on to him. There's a world where they trade him, try to find like a more veteran backup option. Maybe they bring back 45-year-old Phillip Rivers, right? That can't be any worse than what it was last year. Not to say that it was bad. It just was clear he wasn't, physically able to play quarterback at a high level anymore, which makes sense. He's 44 with 7,000 children. So, tough time, or not tough time for him, but tough. It was tough watching him try to play quarterback. But yeah, again, Caden Curry, George Gumbs Jr. looking good. Very encouraging for the depth of this Colts defensive line. Oh, man. What'd you think of the defense last night, Jack? I know we've talked a bit about the quarterbacks and a couple players here and there, but just like as a whole, what'd you make of the defense?
I mean, I thought it was promising. I mean, the overall targets of like stopping the run, being able to adapt of like all the other things that was thrown at them because they had a bunch of roster changes. I mean, it was promising. I don't like what I'm trying to say is like I don't think we're going to see anything above and beyond defensively. I mean, even when we do have the like starters in like Sauce, I mean, it'll be a consistent defense, I think, which is what I'm probably happier about. I'd way rather have a consistent than a flashy defense, but it's not going to be like the stellar top 5 defense of the year. I think
Sauce Gardner said. Sauce Gardner's like, we're going to be top 5. And I was like,
I would love it.
How about top 10?
Yeah.
I think top 10 is feasible. It'll just like the question is just the pass rush. Like if Latu comes back and he's like a 12.5 sack guy and Arden Key's like an 8 sack guy, then like this could be. If they're both that good, it'll certainly be a top 10 defense, and it'll probably flirt with top 5. But like, I don't know. Philly should have a better defense. The Rams should have a better defense. The Texans should have a better defense. The Seahawks should have a better defense. And there's one out there that I'm forgetting where the defense should be pretty gnarly. So, nope, none of them. This is going to bother me until I can remember who it is. The Cowboys defense is actually going to be, I think, pretty solid this year as well. So the Packers, too, especially once they get Micah Parsons back, should be one of the better defenses in football. But if they can rush the passer, which that's what every defense is saying right now. If we can rush the passer, then we should be good. That's just kind of a given. But for the Colts, that's the biggest concern.
Yeah, I mean, I think with the AFC South, I mean, they'll have Lamar. That'll be like their hardest person to contain. But other than that, I mean, I would much rather have what I saw last night being like a top 12 defense consistently every game rather than showing flashes in the pan of like a top 5 defense every 4 games.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
I think that's a reasonable take. I like it. We'll talk quarterbacks. Anthony Richardson, really, really nice showing last night. But he's just the one mistake, the one fumble is upsetting, but I thought everything else he did looked really good. We'll talk Anthony Richardson and his improvement at 2:00. Hour number 3 of the Real Jonathan Smith Show, where we have talked Indianapolis Colts all day today. Not going to stop. It's just Colts, Colts, Colts. After their first preseason game last night, Anthony Richardson being the headliner of everything that I thought that we saw last night, because he was dang near perfect. The fumble sucked. You could see it coming from a mile away. Once you pass the line of scrimmage as a quarterback, you should probably tuck the football. He was 5 yards downfield, still holding the ball like he had the option to throw it. And that's just a mistake that you can't make in year 4. Slide, run out of bounds, tuck the football, cover it up with 2 hands. You just can't do that. And look, it's fixable, but you would also hope that that's not a mistake that you make in year 4. Well, welcome into the Real Jonathan Smith Show. Thanks for tuning in, no matter how you're tuning in. YouTube, Indie Sports Ticket, if you want to head over there and subscribe. You can also watch the show on X__Jonathan Smith. Follow me there and watch the show there. You can also listen on the Indie Sports Ticket app as well, which you can find wherever you download your apps. So Anthony Richardson's first throw of the game last night made me want to bury my head in the sand. He missed what should have been a very easy throw to Will Mallory. And it just kind of felt like we were going to get the same version of Anthony Richardson that we seem to get every time he goes out there, missing the layups, but also like having a couple of just like wow throws. And to his credit, he bounced back. He didn't miss another throw the rest of the time that he was on the field. I do understand that he threw an interception, but Coleman Owen has to catch that football. There's really no other way around it. That is a play that an NFL receiver should absolutely make. So outside of that first miss from Richardson, I thought he looked very crisp. Here he is after the game talking about his performance. You need a second, Jack? Oh, you got it. All right, here we go.
Feels good, honestly. These past few months just of my life have been, a little weird, especially coming back from the eye injury and then not playing football in a long time. So getting back into my groove, it was a little rocky start for me in the beginning, but the guys on the sideline were just telling me just take the next play and just go next play after that, and we found a way to move the ball and eventually put some points up.
Anthony Richardson right there talking about his performance last night. I know that he threw the interception, but again, Coleman Owen, who had a nice day, did a nice job returning kicks and punts and all that kind of stuff. He should have caught that ball, though. It goes through his hands. Patriots defender makes an easy play. It wasn't a perfect throw, but the ball should have been caught. Most NFL receivers make that play. And then after that, Anthony Richardson was nothing short of perfect. He threw the ball over the middle to DJ Montgomery. There's no, DJ Montgomery has created no separation whatsoever. He's blanketed. And Anthony Richardson's like, that's totally fine by me. And he just sticks it in his chest. Couldn't have handed the ball to him in a better spot. That was probably the best throw of the day from Anthony Richardson. He hit Westbrook Akina on a comeback route, just square in the chest. It just like he could have thrown that ball through a tin can. But the most impressive thing that he did in that game last night was the drive right before the half. Okay, the Colts have the football at their own 8-yard line. They've got all 3 timeouts, 28 seconds left. Not much time. In 5 plays, he put them in field goal range. He was 4 or 5 passing on those plays. And that is the mark of good quarterback play. Of all the things that he did last night, that was the best part. Because there are a lot of guys in the NFL who can complete passes when the defense knows that you have the option to run or pass. It's why the Colts, and this is not a dig at Daniel Jones, this is just reality. Part of why they were so good on third down last year is because everything was third and short. And when you're constantly in third and short, and the opposing teams know that you have the option to run the football, it just makes things easier. That's the reality of it. That's why first down is so important. Like, if you can pick up 5 yards on first down, then you're probably going to move the chains at some point, because you get to second and 5, and then usually you can end up in like 3rd and 2, and now you have everything available to you option wise. That's why moving the football with 2 minutes left in the game is such a difficult thing to do, because the defense knows that you're throwing the football. And the reason why Patrick Mahomes is Patrick Mahomes is because when the defense knows he's going to throw the football, it doesn't really matter. That's why Josh Allen is Josh Allen. That's why Tom Brady is Tom Brady. It's why Peyton Manning was Peyton Manning. The defense was like, they're throwing the football here. And Peyton Manning was like, I don't care that you know that. And he would find a way to move the Colts down the field to win a game. Okay, and that is, I'm not saying that Anthony Richardson is as good as those guys, but seeing him find a lot of success in a time frame where the defense knows that he's throwing the football, that is a nice thing to see. Now, it's one game against the Patriots backups. Some settled down juice likely needs to be passed out to a lot of Colts fans. I might be one of them. But he looked really good last night. Much better than the guy that we've seen over the last 3 years. First impressions are incredibly important, and the first impression we got of Anthony Richardson was not good. Wasn't. There were some incredible moments, slipping off his back foot and then throwing a bomb to Alec Pierce. Ball in the red zone his rookie year was really nice to see. So there were like flashes here and there, but most of the time when Anthony Richardson was playing quarterback, it was mostly incompletions and bad quarterback play. We haven't seen this guy in a year. The last time we saw him, he was getting rocked by a linebacker off the edge for Baltimore because he didn't, not slide the protection, but he didn't know how the protection was going to pan out there. Okay. And then this year, it looks so much better because people change and get better over the course of a year. It's like your nephew that you haven't seen in forever. The last time you saw him, he was 10 years old and he didn't know how to not be annoying. Now he's 15 and he's like talking about college and he's asking you about your job and you're like, who is this kid? He grew up. It's been 5 years. And that's what it felt like watching Anthony Richardson last night. It felt like you could see the fact that he had grown up a little bit over the last year. Okay, the biggest stat for him last night, 10.4 yards per attempt. It is a great indicator of performance because you don't get to that number unless you're, one, completing passes, which Anthony Richardson did, because if a bunch of your pass attempts end up being 0, it's hard to get that yards per attempt up. And you have to be able to push the football down the field. You don't get to a yards per attempt of 10.5 if you're incapable of pushing the football down the field. Every time Anthony Richardson threw the football, the likely result was the result on average was a first down. That is impressive. Now, he's not perfect. I don't think that Anthony Richardson is all of a sudden a starting caliber quarterback in the NFL, but it does look like he's gotten better. Now, I would rather be 15 minutes late to a party than 15 minutes early. So I like to see a little bit more from Richardson before I say that he's fixed and he's ready to take real snaps again. But last night was a good start towards that. Jack, I made that comment earlier in the week on how I'd rather be 15 minutes late to a party than 15 minutes early. I asked Chris what he thought, and Chris was like, I'm always 15 minutes early to a party. And I thought that was insane.
That is insane. That is insane. I'm always late. I'm kind of notorious for being later than I should be, to parties.
Okay. Yeah, but there's nothing, that's a hyperbolic statement. But what's awkward? Showing up 15 minutes early to a party and it's just you and whoever's hosting.
Yeah.
And you're just like, okay.
I cannot, like, I hate being, like, doing small talk. So if I'm, like, the first, like, third person to the party, it's like I know one person and don't know another, it's awful.
Yeah.
I mean,
You're walking into that conversation looking at the person that you don't know and saying, so like, what's your biggest fear in life?
yeah.
And then they're like, whoa, that's
I mean, yeah. With Anthony Richardson, that's like if he would have threw like a bomb of an interception the first like play.
Yeah.
And then the last quarter, if he had the fumble in the last quarter, we'd be not talking about him the same way, even if the final score was the same.
Yeah, the order of events is very important. I think that's a really good point. Like, if he even if his last throw is that like duck or that short duck to Mallory, we're like, he had a great day, and then he ruined it at the end, you know. And so I think that's a good point. But I want to see more. I'm trying not to get excited just because, you know, it's hard not to when you see 6'4" specimen that has the amount of talent that Anthony Richardson does.
Yeah.
And so we'll see. We haven't really even talked about his running very much today. And like, that's just something that makes offense easier. Like 9 carries for 55 yards and a touchdown yesterday. Like that's 9 yards a carry.
Yeah. His stature and the way he plays is kind of exactly what the Colts need. Like if they're running 2 tight end sets and if they have, you know, Jonathan Taylor, one of like the best running backs in the league, like they're going to need a quarterback who can cause problems being mobile. So, I mean, if they want to run 2 tight end sets and want to run more planned running sets, and if they want to be able to have a quarterback that can make decisions on the fly, Anthony Richardson kind of came out yesterday and proved that like his style of play is almost perfect for it. But then again, like with that preseason game, like we don't know if those mistakes in the beginning were him just being nervous and a little bit of rusty in the preseason, or if that's just the mistakes that he's prone to for the rest of the season.
Yeah, and you know, I thought last night, and that's a good point on Russ, right? Like the first couple throws he makes aren't great, but like he also hadn't played in a real game setting in a year, right? So maybe that's part of it. But like I thought he showed last night that if you need him to spot start week 12 because Jones rolled his ankle, you don't feel terrible about it. Like you go into the game like he could win us this game.
Oh yeah.
But like given his history, you also know that he could absolutely lose that game for you as well.
Yeah, what I see happening later in this year is like Coach Steichen's going to throw Richardson out there when it's like 4th and 1. Just because they're going to put him under the center and they're going to try to run the tush push with, you know, not Will Mallory. They're going to try to run Tyler Warren on one side and somebody else on the other side. And instead of just telling him to fall over the center, he's going to tell him to try to boot it out to the tackle. That's probably what's going to happen at least once, is they're going to try to fake the tush push and have him go around. Whether he fumbles that ball or whether he actually is able to use the strength that we all know he has and get through, I think that's going to be a play that we'll actually see in the real season.
If they call that play and something bad happens, I'm just going to blame Steichen.
Yeah.
Like just sneak it. I am interested to see, because they snuck Daniel Jones a lot last year. I'll be interested to see if they do it again.
With his injury coming back,
I feel like they would. He tore his right Achilles, so they'll probably maybe flip his stance. But then again, you don't want to do that because that's a giveaway to whatever you're doing. So, I don't know. Because I know like after last night, people are clamoring for like a wildcat. You know, let him do this like Taysom Hill thing with Richardson. The big Taysom Hill year, I don't think that people remember it properly. The big Taysom Hill year happened because Drew Brees reached a point in his career where he couldn't throw the ball further than like 15 yards.
Mm-hmm.
And so anytime that they wanted to take a shot play, like they would bring in Taysom Hill. Daniel Jones is, you know, hurt but like he can still drive the ball, you know? And so I don't know if we really need that. Maybe in the red zone if you want to run him in, like okay, maybe. But outside of that, I don't know. I would just I wouldn't play him unless I had to.
Yeah, I agree. And I love wildcat formations. That's what we ran in high school a lot.
Nice.
But Yeah, we had a star Ohio University running back as our best player. So we ran Wildcat a lot with him there. And then, but like, it takes one thing to have a really athletic and mobile quarterback in Wildcat to be able to throw in all those different plays in there. But it takes another to like know exactly where to put the ball. And it's more decision making than anything.
Yeah.
And the one thing I think everybody was kind of not disappointed with was more like Anthony Richardson's physicality and everything is perfect. Not maybe perfect, but his mental state of like him taking himself out of games and everything like that. I think that's the part that everybody worries about if he's in that split second that he did show last night. I think he made plenty of good decisions, but he's not the best at like making those snapshot decisions. Now he's not Will Levis, where he's just going out there and falling, trying to get a ball out there. But if we do want to see him run in a Wildcat, I really want to see him just make those like half-second decisions where it could be an interception, but instead he just decides to run it out, or the opposite, where he decides to run it out and then throws it over the line for 5 yards.
Yeah. And I mean, I thought we saw him do that a little bit more last night. Like he kept it and scrambled. I mean, I think they only called like 3 like real designed runs for him.
Mm-hmm.
And so like you saw him take off a few times when no one was open, which was really nice. We'll probably see more of that next Saturday just because he's going to be playing with lesser players. But the tap out thing, I don't think that's a problem anymore. I think that's a mistake you make once and you never make it ever again. And also, like, I do think he's matured. Like, that happened when he was 22.
Yeah.
How old are you?
24.
Okay. How much smarter are you now at 24 than what you were at 22?
I'd say a lot. Hopefully.
Yeah, that's Richardson. He's 24 now. He was 22 2 years ago when that happened. And so he's I do think he's grown up. You weren't around, but a couple of years ago, I made a comment about Anthony Richardson did like a press conference after practice with a visor on, upside down and backwards. I was like, that's not okay, because if you're the starting quarterback of a franchise, like you're the CEO, like the way that you present yourself is I think that's important. And this is gonna sound so dumb, but like I think the fact that last night during his press conference he wore his visor forwards and not upside down. I think that is a sign of like him just getting older and being more mature. Because one of the biggest problems with him was like he was asked to be the face of a franchise at 21 years old. He was asked to be the Colts' best quarterback since Andrew Luck, who, like, if he doesn't retire young, I don't want to do a whole Andrew Luck thing because we do it every freaking summer. Like that's a guy who was like the best quarterback in football before he retired. And so he was just asked to do so much at such a young age that like the maturity, being in the offense for 4 years now, I think that's part of why they didn't have any procedural penalties with him in last night. I think he's a more mature player, which is one of the things he needed to work on. The question is just like, can he be consistent for 4 quarters?
Mm-hmm.
And last night, like I want to say yes, he can, but like that fumble is one of the issues that we've had with him. And so there's things that he's still got to clean up, but in as much as you can tell in one half, it looks like he's come a long way, which is a great sign for if you want to trade him or if you want him to be the backup this year.
Yeah, I mean, I was here when we drafted him. I was a big bandwagon for Anthony Richardson, but at the same time, I mean, when we say like his mental aspects were the problem with him 2 years ago,
mm-hmm.
I think what we also always forget about is like when you come straight out of college and you become that starting quarterback, it's not to say that you think everything's going to be the same from college, because everybody knows it's like a step up. You're playing leagues ahead competition. But at the same time, like you could see it in plenty of other quarterbacks who have been picked up even the last 5 years, that they come in and they don't think that like the technical aspects are going to be different. Like they don't really realize how harder they're probably gonna have to throw, like how much it's going to hurt on every single play. And I think some of those guys that come in, I mean, it really just takes a couple of years to sit behind someone to really just kind of grab the whole the aspect of the NFL. But yeah. I think we see that like directly in Anthony Richardson, like his focus on some plays are so much more like in line with how a quarterback starts and how a quarterback plays. But last 2 years when he first started, there were so many times where you just see him drop back and freeze, and that be the thing that's like we just hated seeing. But now I think he's just more like he's more of an NFL caliber. I don't know if that might be ignorant of me to say, but he just seems like he really gets the flow of like how everything's going better this year.
He looked more comfortable.
That's the best word to say.
Yeah. And which is important. Riley Leonard, though, didn't look comfortable at all last night. There might be a reason for it, but he certainly did not help himself out in this quarterback 2 battle. I'll talk about Riley Leonard, the struggles, and maybe a little bit of hope for why he'll be better in this next game against the Falcons in 3 minutes. Oh, no. Okay. Did you see the final play of the game?
Yeah. The not the touchdown. What was the final play? I'm forgetting.
Brian Mason, the Colts special teams coordinator, tore multiple ligaments in his knee because someone got tackled into the Colts sideline.
Oh, I did not. I must have missed that. On the kickoff? Or the kick return?
No, they were like throwing they were trying to throw a Hail Mary. New England blitzed everybody. And so Riley Leonard had to roll out and just like jump throws, leaves it way short, but gets like shoved into the sideline. And
shit.
Yeah. So we'll break that news whenever we come back.
Yeah. He tore his what ligaments?
He tore the ligaments in his knee. Oh, you guys can hear me. Oh,
did I know?
Riley Leonard did not impress last night. Pretty rough outing for the former 6th-round pick out of Notre Dame. 10 of 21, 89 yards, no touchdowns, and 1 interception. And I think that the most concerning thing about his performance last night is the fact that the Colts called plays like Riley Leonard's a young quarterback. It was a lot of bootlegs and easy throws, and he still couldn't find any sort of consistency. Welcome into the Real Jonathan Smith Show. Thanks for tuning in, no matter how you're tuning in. YouTube, Indy Sports Ticket. If you want to head over there and subscribe, you can also watch the show on X, the Indy Sports Ticket app, or 1430 a.m. I thought that the Colts really let Anthony Richardson play quarterback. Meanwhile, they protected Riley Leonard a little bit more, and that is not a knock on Leonard. That's probably how things should be. It's like test driving a brand new Ferrari versus taking your teenager out in a Honda Civic. with the student driver sticker on the back. You know, you're not giving both drivers the same set of keys. Anthony Richardson is in year 4. This is his fourth year in the offense. This is his fourth year of NFL football. Riley Leonard is in year 2. So it's not abnormal that they would give Anthony Richardson a little more responsibility with the offense compared to Riley Leonard. The problem with Riley Leonard was the fact that he threw one of the worst interceptions you will ever see. He was under pressure, and he just lofted that thing up into double coverage, underthrew it, and it got picked off. That is a panic pick, and you cannot have those if you're a backup quarterback. Okay, that is, the equivalent of someone trying to sell their house who gets nervous after the house being on the market for 2 weeks and then dropping the price by like $200,000, Like you can't panic. You have to hold strong. Just, take the sack, throw it away. Just don't do that. If you're going to play backup quarterback and win, you have to avoid turnovers. That's why the Anthony Richardson fumble was so bad. And that's why the Riley Leonard interception was so awful, because this Colts team is built offensively to survive a couple of games without Daniel Jones, because there's a good offensive line and you've got good, you've got some good tight ends and you've got Jonathan Taylor. The Colts can win a game or two without Daniel Jones because of their ability to run the football. You just have to run a quarterback out there who doesn't get in the way of that. And the Anthony Richardson fumble was an avoidable mistake. The Riley Leonard interception was an avoidable mistake, and you can't commit those when you are competing to be the backup quarterback in any system. Okay, now back to Riley Leonard here. I thought it was somewhat difficult to evaluate how capable he is because we didn't see that much of him. Riley Leonard had 3 balls batted down at the line of scrimmage. Everything he threw was short. He didn't throw the ball beyond the sticks hardly at all. When he did, it normally fell incomplete. He dropped the snap. It felt kind of like buying a fixer-upper house where every time you open a closet, you discover another plumbing issue. It's like at some point, you just stop opening the doors. It was just a brutal showing from him last night. There wasn't a lot of good. Here is Riley Leonard last night after the game talking about why he struggled.
Yeah, I think you just got to take the film and look at it and see what you learn. Obviously disappointed, but you can reflect on, a lot of things, right? You're going against a different defense for the first time. I think you when we're running our plays against this, our own defense, you throw a lot of the same routes. Well, I can't look at it. I can't get used to throwing certain routes. You're playing a completely different defense. So taking each play as it is and understanding, what routes work against certain coverages that we might not have seen yet would be important for me to kind of dive into going into this next game.
Riley Leonard right there talking about his struggles. Glad he knows that the Patriots defense is different than the Colts defense. Seems like a great place to start for him going forward. Again, 10 of 21, 89 yards, no touchdowns, 1 pick. Also had 2 carries for 12 yards. He wasn't good at all. And that matters not only because he's competing for that quarterback 2 spot, but it matters for the potential of the Anthony Richardson trade. Do the Colts really want to trade Anthony Richardson for a day 3 pick if he's the best option to be your backup this year, especially when you consider that you get a compensatory pick if he leaves in the offseason anyway, which will be a day 3 pick. So why not hold on to him if Riley Leonard continues to struggle the way that he did last year? Trading Anthony Richardson right now for a 6th-round pick is like selling your Apple stock during a temporary market dip just to buy a used riding lawnmower. Just doesn't make any sense long term. Okay, history tells you that Daniel Jones will get hurt at some point this year. He's played 1 full complete season in his NFL career. That's it. Only 1. Okay, every other year he has had some kind of injury, and it's usually him missing multiple games. His rookie year, he only appeared in 13 of 16 games. His second year in the NFL, he appeared in 14 of 16 games. Year 3, he appeared in 11 of 16 games. Year 4, he plays all 16. They make the playoffs. Everyone's like, Brian Dable's great. 2023, he plays in 6 games. 2024, he plays in 10. Last year, 13. You're going to have to play your backup quarterback at some point this season, most likely. Okay? It's not a guaranteed thing. Maybe, Daniel Jones, defies the odds here a little bit and plays the whole season. But again, history tells you you're probably going to see Leonard or Richardson at some point in a reserve role. And if the Colts don't feel good about Leonard, if Chris Ballard doesn't think that they can win a couple of games with Riley Leonard, if and when Daniel Jones goes out, they should just keep Anthony Richardson. This is a season for Chris Ballard and Shane Steichen potentially, definitely for Ballard, but potentially for Steichen, where if they don't win, they're going to be looking for new jobs. Okay, they are sitting in the front row of an airline flight on a severe weather warning. There is no safety net, and the turbulence is already here. Okay, the plane is shaking, and they've got to find a way to land it somewhere in the playoffs. And for them, it would be worth holding on to Anthony Richardson if they don't think that Riley Leonard can be a reliable backup, because there is a pathway to victory with Anthony Richardson. It looks a lot like a Malik Willis game plan. Think back a couple of years ago when the Colts go on the road to Lambeau Field to play against the Packers. And I remember talking about that game beforehand and being like, the Colts need this one because Jordan Love isn't playing. And the Colts play that game and they lose. Malik Willis only threw the football 14 times in that game. And the Packers ran it 53 times. There's a pathway to victory with Anthony Richardson, and it looks something like that. Throw it 15 times and run it 50. And you can do that with Anthony Richardson. That's not really the option with Riley Leonard. Now, this battle's not over. Shane Steichen hasn't announced who the backup quarterback is going to be yet. Riley Leonard is going to start the game against the Falcons, not tomorrow, but next Saturday, and he will be better. Part of why he might have struggled is he was playing with the threes. When you play behind better offensive linemen and with better wide receivers, you are set up to have more success. Okay, trying to evaluate a quarterback playing behind a third-string offensive line is like judging Gordon Ramsay's cooking skills when you only gave him cheap microwave TV dinners to work with. It's kind of tough to make magic when that's happening. Okay, Riley Leonard was out there with guys that are going to be selling insurance in 2 weeks. It's hard to find a ton of success when you're playing with lower-level players. So we'll see if he's any better at home against the Falcons, but it's an interesting thing. We will see what happens. Someone chiming in on our text line 317-228-1430 if you want to text our text line saying, I think Steichen will be here. Ballard will be bye-bye. Just a feeling. That's how I feel about it as well. Whenever you hear, Carly or Ursay Gordon, who is the sister in charge, whenever it comes to, all the sisters running this team, you can tell that she likes Steichen. She had a quote earlier in the offseason where she talks about how just because you fire the general manager doesn't necessarily mean that you have to fire the head coach. So that felt like some foreshadowing there. And look, I am very firmly on the record of being a big Coach Steichen guy. I think this is a guy who's going to win a Super Bowl as a head coach at some point. Will it be here in Indianapolis? Maybe. We'll see. But if not, I think he'd get hired somewhere immediately. And eventually, he's going to wind up at a place with a good quarterback and a capable general manager. And he's going to start running off a whole bunch of wins. I think he's that smart and he's that good. The question is, can the Colts get him a general manager that can put together a good roster? We will see. Colts tied 13-13. The defense, I thought, played pretty well last night. We'll talk this Colts defense and the youngsters that we saw running around making plays in 3 minutes. Colts tie the New England Patriots last night, 13-13. A lot of discussion around Riley Leonard and Anthony Richardson as they battle for that backup quarterback spot. But I thought that the most impressive thing that we saw last night from the Colts was the way that they played defense. Welcome in to the Real Jonathan Smith Show. Thanks for tuning in. No matter how you're tuning in, do us a favor. Head over to YouTube, search for Indy Sports Tickets, and subscribe. That would help us out in a big way. Also, next week on Wednesday, Purdue fans, get ready. We got the head coach, good old Coach Barry Odom, coming on the show on Wednesday at 2 o'clock. Can't wait for that. If you have questions that you would like him to be asked about, this Purdue football team with the upcoming year, you can text those to us, 317-228-1430. Last night, the Colts defense, again, I thought was the most impressive thing. The defensive line was okay. Adetomiwa Adebawore was unblockable when he was on the field. He dominated whoever was in front of him. After him, the defensive tackles weren't great. I thought Tillery and Noddy got blown off the ball pretty consistently. It just reinforced the idea that DeForest Buckner and Grover Stewart have to stay healthy for this Colts defense to find any sort of success this year. Even with Adetomiwa Adebawore, he he's not a very good run defender still. Like, I thought he was better last night than what we've seen him, but he is really a pass rushing specialist from that defensive tackle spot, which is a valuable thing, especially whenever we are questioning the edge rusher depth and things. And so he's valuable in that sense, but I don't think he's some great run defender quite yet. But then, yeah, the other guys were terrible. I was also encouraged last night by Caden Curry and George Gumbs. You can understand why the Colts took George Gumbs in the 5th round. He's a project, but he is incredibly gifted off the edge. Like the guy played receiver in college, so you know that he's a very good athlete and that he can really move. So he had a sack in the game. I thought he looked good. Still looked raw, but you can tell that he's got the potential to be a good player. And then Caden Curry's really the guy who stole the show, him and Bryce Betcher. Caden Curry just all over the place. Led the Colts in tackles, had 2 tackles for loss, batted a couple of balls down, had a sack, was really solid in the run game. He might play this year. I don't think that that's out of the question for him. He's supposed to be the kind of player that he's the kind of player that might be able to come in and contribute immediately. It's just kind of hard to know how much because it does feel like he's buried down there pretty good on this depth chart. So, and I do think it's important to remember that he was on the field against the Patriots 3s. That's kind of important. And to his credit, he made them look like 3s. But again, they're 3s. But I will say, Jalen Tuimoloau did not do that. Jalen Tuimoloau was nothing short of bad whenever you look at it. And so I just it's such a disappointing thing. It's not surprising because it's a Chris Ballard edge rusher. That's just, like if you get drafted high by Chris Ballard and you're an edge rusher, you're probably not going to pan out. It's like it's a curse. It's a death sentence. Latu's been okay. We'll see if he can survive this Chris Ballard curse. See if he can have like an 11 sack year this year or something like that. But Jalen Tuimoloau is just another guy in a long line of pass rushers drafted by Chris Ballard in the early rounds that hasn't panned out. So it's not great. That's why the Caden Curry emergence and the George Gumbs playing well last night is a big deal. So we'll see if they can add a little bit of depth there with those day 3 picks from the NFL draft. But just the idea of having to rely on day 3 picks is just, it's never good. That's never really what you want. There's another sporting event going on right now that is, I think it's one of the best. Jack, are you a Little League World Series guy?
In college, my roommate was the biggest baseball guy, and we watched it every year. I never watched it before then, or I haven't kept up with it after, to be honest.
Okay, fair enough. There's a game going on right now. Wisconsin's playing Iowa. It's one of my favorite things to watch every year. Like, just first and foremost, how good the kids are is just, it's bizarre, man. And I don't know, dude, like that age group is so weird because like they're 11 and 12-year-olds. And so some of them are like 6'2", because some 11 and 12-year-olds develop really young. And then there are other ones that are like 5'3", you know? And it's just, it's a good watch, man. Like, would I watch it over the Colts preseason? Absolutely not. But like, am I going to watch the games tonight and over the weekend when there's not football on? Absolutely, I am.
Is this week just the U.S. series for Little League?
Yeah. So today and tomorrow, or no, just today, all day today, you have all of the regional championships being played. So like, whoever wins between Iowa and Wisconsin goes to the Little League World Series. Montana, that's MT, right?
Yeah.
Montana plays Nevada, which is that's interesting. Anyway, so like whoever wins that game, like they go to Williamsport. Hawaii plays California tonight. That game will be awesome because those are normally two excellent excellent teams. So like they play tonight. Winner of that advances to Williamsport. Same thing with the Delaware and Pennsylvania game. If there's a team from Pennsylvania, it always makes it better because people are obviously traveling in to Williamsport that already live there.
Mm-hmm.
And so the atmosphere looks incredible. It's all free. It's like apparently all ran by volunteers. Like you don't buy tickets, you just kind of show up. And then, Connecticut plays New Jersey tonight as well. But it is a top tier sporting event. And I'm excited about tonight.
Yeah, once they get into like the World Series, like once like Mexico and all them start playing like US kids, I always tune into that. It's so fun to watch. Like those kids, they're what, 10, 12, and they somehow communicate with each other with like a huge language barrier. It's so fun. I mean, I love watching those kids just go out there and like hang out.
So in the Iowa game right now, they have a pitcher who's pitching. I guess through the course of their regional, he has thrown 9 2/3 innings. He has 27 strikeouts.
That's insane.
Yeah, shout out to Dave Carell there for that stat. That's incredible. But yeah, like, and that's the thing. Like, you get kids like that, and games are like 1-2, or like they're all close and they're low scoring, and it's high intensity, and I don't care for like the sportsmanship of it. I know there's some people who are like the sportsmanship at the Little League World Series is great. It's not really my thing. I just like the baseball and the passion, and because I think we forget like baseball's a kid's game.
Yeah,
every sport is, and so there's just something about it that is that's just special in general. So yeah, love it.
I agree. I can't say I watched it as much as I should, especially like the pre-games, but I always watch like the actual World Little League Series.
Yeah,
it's so fun to watch. But yeah,
it is. Japan's gonna have a really good team because they always do.
Mm-hmm.
They'll all be like 5'4", except for their first baseman. He'll be 6'3" and throw like 75 off of a 46-foot mound. So, that's usually who wins the world side of the bracket. And that's the other thing too, right? Like you see teams or countries rather, they have like identities. Like I can tell you right now, whatever team comes out of Mexico, they're going to be big and they're going to like hit for power. That's just like how they are. Whoever represents Chinese Taipei, they're going to have a lot of pitching. There'll be a smaller team that like bunts and like plays a little bit of small ball. Japan, same thing, minus their big first baseman, whoever it winds up being. The teams from like Central America, like there's like a Latin America team every year.
Mm-hmm.
They've got some like scrawny kid that throws like 80. It's just the way that it is, and it's kind of like college basketball in a way, where like when you see, so many coaches have moved jobs. It's a little bit different now, but like every team entity that they kind of ride with every single year.
Oh yeah,
it's kind of like your Cornhuskers in the 80s. It's like we're going to see the option today.
Yeah,
like no matter who's on that team, like that's what we're going to see, and so it's kind of got a similar feel of that, which makes it fun.
Oh yeah, I mean I think the same. Like if you compare it to like here, like SEC is going to throw the ball, Big Ten is going to run the ball more. I mean, I like seeing different parts of the world how they play baseball. It's the same way in like soccer. They're all going to have different soccer sets. That's why the World Cup was so much fun to watch.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I love watching different styles of sports play. So like in football, I love watching like two completely different teams with different like plans at the game go at it. So Little League is like, I think the heightened version of that. You're always going to get like one kid that's going to run insanely faster than everybody else. And they're going to play a completely different team than, like you said, the Chinese Taipei game where they're going to have pitchers throw like, I don't know, 5-foot sliders. Like it's just fun to watch those two different play styles play together at such a big like discrepancy. Like those kids are so different from each other. So much different than any MLB players are going to be from the next MLB player.
Absolutely. We forgot to bring this up earlier. Brian Mason has multiple torn knee ligaments after getting rolled up on last night. If you didn't stay if you didn't stay up to catch the end of the Colts game, ended in pretty awful fashion. The Colts are in like Hail Mary territory, and the Patriots blitz everybody. Riley Leonard rolls out towards the Colts sideline, gets pushed, and like rolls into Brian Mason, who like went down and was screaming. It was brutal. You said you didn't catch that.
I must have missed it somehow.
Oh, dude, you can probably find the replay somewhere. It's awful. Like, not fun at all. So, oh man,
It's like one of the worst things that happened at a preseason game. You have one of your coaches taken out by. You could have had also one of your backup quarterbacks going down in the last play.
yeah, seriously. I mean, just not what you want to see. We do have some preseason games tonight. Denver playing Atlanta. So if you want a little sneak peek at what the Colts are up against, not tomorrow, but next Saturday, the Jets play the Buccaneers. So we'll probably get to see a little bit of D'Angelo Pons, Omar Cooper Jr. In that one. So if you want to watch a couple former IU guys, speaking of which, Fernando Mendoza ripping it last night. If you have YouTube TV, you get access to ESPN Unlimited.
Mm-hmm.
And so I have access to that. And so last night I've got like the iPad up on my chest watching the Raiders. Not really. I was really just looking for Mendoza. And then, obviously up on the big screen, I'm watching the Colts. And dude, he was ripping it, man. Like there were some throws where it was like, that wasn't great, but he made a couple. It was what you wanted to see. It was like a little bit of, that was a really nice throw. But there was also like consistency. Like every throw that he should have made, he did, and then he made a couple of impressive ones as well. You want consistency with some occasional wow from your quarterback, and I thought Mendoza gave them that in the 2 quarters that he played.
Oh yeah, if you're a Raiders fan, even as us being IU fans, it's like when we watched the last 3 quarters with Richardson, not the first. But
yeah.
Other than that, he looked great. The one pass I think everybody remembers is the one where he threw it over the middle. There were 3 guys around. I can't remember the wide receiver that caught it. But, plays like that where you can just whip it in there.
Yeah.
That's what any coach, I think, is looking for, is just you need 5 yards, 6 yards. We need someone who can whip it into anybody.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see when he finally gets to play this year. With Tom Brady being there, he's big on like having quarterbacks sit. I don't think he needs to sit. I think he's ready. Because just when you're a 3-year starter in college, like you've seen enough. Like let's get him in there. Let's find out if he can play. But at the same time, paying Kirk Cousins a lot of money, so they want to run him out there. That's totally fine. So you're playing golf this weekend.
Yeah, hopefully, if it doesn't get rained out like it's been the last 2 days.
Yeah, I think it's supposed to hold off. Actually, I don't know. I think it may rain in the morning. I'm heading down to good old Santa Claus, Indiana. We're going to Holiday World tomorrow.
Okay, I've never been to Holiday World. So what are like
I've never been either. It's my first time.
I was going to ask, like, what are the best rides?
We were supposed to go last year, and it was going to be me and my wife and one of my good friends and one of her really good friends. They were dating at the time. So it's like, oh, this is going to be great. And then they broke up the night before we were supposed to go.
Ooh.
And so it was like, you should probably hang out here. They're probably going to need some emotional support. So, but yeah, we're going tomorrow. We got some friends coming with us. Mason's Root Beer Stand in Washington, Indiana. We'll be making a stop there. If you're ever down there.
I didn't know they had that. Is it just a home place?
It's local to Washington. It's like it's a drive-through kind of place. Coney dogs and root beer. That's what they serve, and it's pretty good. So
it's not too shabby. Are you going to or have you been to the fair at all this week?
I haven't been to the fair yet. I'm waiting to see if we give any away, because if we give fair tickets away, that means I can just ask for something.
I think we did.
Did we? Okay, I'll ask Taylor before I leave then. But hey, Taylor, can I get a few tickets to the fair?
Yeah, I've heard the fair. That's another thing I haven't done in Indiana.
Fair's a good time. It's a good fair. I enjoy it. So there you go. That'll do it here on the Real Jonathan Smith Show. No show Monday. I'll be back on Tuesday. Got to use these vacation days up before football is like fully back in action. We got Coach Barry Odom joining us on Wednesday at 2:00. Can't wait for that. But we will talk to you on Tuesday starting at noon. Chris will be back. Jack, thank you for the help today. We will talk to you guys on Tuesday at noon. See ya.